Chapter 68. Chapter 68, Battle for Points. The second way is to complete a task. Dragon Palace provides various tasks for experience. Some of them are difficult, some are relatively simple. You will obtain points according to the complexity of the task. The third way is to battle for points. On hearing this, both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan were puzzled. They could easily understand the first two ways, but could not figure out what the battle for points was. The battle for points is actually dueling. Wang Yuan spoke with a smile. There are more than 200 disciples of Dragon Palace with varying strength. As exceptional geniuses, they can be somewhat arrogant. As a result, they often fight with each other in Dragon Palace. Since there are fights, there are duels and bets. As for the bets, it's up to the two duelers. Got it. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan immediately understood. Speaking of the battles for points, third younger brother, you should be careful. Wang Yuan suddenly spoke. Why? Jian Wushuang looked at him in surprise. Wang Yuan said, I just mentioned there are 3 ways to get points. First, going through the Dragon Gate. Many disciples will wait a long time to challenge, and they may not be successful. What's more, they can only gain a few points there. Second, complete tasks for experience. But only difficult tasks offer a lot of points. Disciples of Dragon Palace will face death trials while performing these tasks, so it's very dangerous. Only the third way, battle for points, is simple. You only need to challenge someone weaker than you and settle the bets. Disciples who have stayed in Dragon Palace for a period of time know the other disciples very well, so they won't easily accept challenges. However, you and second younger brother are different because you're newcomers. Jian Wushuang understood. You mean the other disciples of Dragon Palace will want to challenge me? Jian Wushuang asked. Right. Wang Yuan nodded. They are inclined to bully those weaker than them. You have just entered Dragon Palace, so they will treat you as a weakling. They will try their best to challenge you to a duel before you have time to use treasures of Dragon Palace to improve your strength. Of course, second younger brother is also a newcomer, but he made it through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. He's so powerful that no one will dare to challenge him. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. We'll reach the martial arts practice field soon, where many disciples of Dragon Palace gather. Battle for points is usually held there. Third younger brother, you must remember my words. If someone challenges you, you can refuse directly or just ignore them. They cannot do anything to you. Wang Yuan reminded Jian Wushuang. Refuse? Why should I refuse? Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Don't be rash, third younger brother. It is not easy for you to earn points. Do not lose them by acting on impulse. Wang Yuan continued to persuade him. Don't worry. I know what to do, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The 4 of them had finally arrived at the huge martial arts practice field. The martial arts practice field covered an extremely large area. There were quite a few disciples of Dragon Palace around the center of it. At the moment, all of them looked at the 4 people who just stepped inside. Newcomers. I hear there are 2 new disciples. Those 2 must be the newcomers. The man with a cold expression is called Yang Zixuan. It's inconceivable that he has already gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. He must be a monster on the same level as Bai Cheng. Yang Zixuan, an exceptional genius. We're not comparable to him. The other person was called Swordsman. I hear he only made it through the 4th level. The 4th level means that his strength is at the bottom of Dragon Palace. Going through the 4th level is worth 1,000 points, and since he's a newcomer, he also received 1,000 points for free. In other words, he has 2,000 points now. Yang Zishuan should have attracted more attention because of his brilliant results. Nevertheless, none of the disciples of Dragon Palace looked at him. All eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Their eyes were full of expectation. "It looks like I'm popular." Jian Wushuang noticed that their eyes sparkled with eagerness, the corner of his mouth lifted up. "Haha, you're a swordsman, right?" A laughter could be heard along with the question. Then a red-haired young man with a saber on his back appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The aura of spiritual power in the exceptional spiritual sea realm spread out. He said with an expectant look, "I'm Zhang Tao. I hear you have gone through the 4th level of the Dragon Gate. So have I. Do you have the guts to have a fair fight with me?" Looking at Zhang Tao, Jian Wushuang was delighted in his heart. The other disciples of Dragon Palace were furious. Damn it, he got there first. Zhang Tao is really fast. I hope the newcomer does not accept his challenge. Zhang Tao. Wang Yuan frowned and shouted in a low voice. "It's been a year since you went through the 4th level. Now your strength has improved greatly to the point that you can challenge the 5th level. Aren't you embarrassed to talk about having a fair fight with my brother?" "Third younger brother, leave him alone," said Wang Yuan, winking at Jian Wushuang. "What? Are you afraid of fighting with me? If you became a disciple of Dragon Palace, you must be a genius. Don't you have the guts?" Zhang Tao spoke directly, then laughed out. "Zhang Tao, right?" Jian Wushuang raised his head and stared at Zhang Tao with a faint smile. "You don't need to provoke me. I accept your challenge. Tell me how many points you want to bet." "Cool." Zhang Tao was glad that Jian Wushuang accepted his challenge. "I know you should have 2,000 points. I will not bet for all of them, just 1,500 points. That will leave you with 500 points to choose a manual from the General Hall in Secret Pavilion. What do you think?" 1,500 points? Zhang Tao, you have a huge appetite. Wang Yuan spoke angrily. "It's true. He has a total of 2,000 points. Only you want 1,500 points. Isn't that too much?" A disciple of Dragon Palace spoke up from the side. He also coveted Jian Wushuang's 2,000 points. 1,500 points. It's too much indeed. "Well, I can bet 1,000 points," Jian Wushuang said. "Okay, 1,000 points." Zhang Tao agreed without hesitation, secretly delighted. Zhang Tao thought that Jian Wushuang was not his match. Jian Wushuang had just become a disciple of Dragon Palace and had only made it through the 4th level of the Dragon Gate. Zhang Tao went through the 4th level a year ago. Since then, his strength had improved greatly with the help of the resources from Dragon Palace. Therefore, he thought he would win this fight no matter what would happen. He was over the moon when thinking about the 1,000 points. It was not a small amount for him, as it was hard to gain points in Dragon Palace. "Haha, watch out." Zhang Tao spoke. He directly rushed forward. With a single stride, he appeared before Jian Wushuang and drew the saber on his back. Chapter 69. Chapter 69, The First Win. Swish. With one chop, the air was immediately cut. So fast. Jian Wushuang was stunned, and he thought to himself, they are undoubtedly Dragon Palace disciples. Jian Wushuang was very calm. The movement was swift, but his sword was faster. Swish. A dazzling glare of sword light fleeted. It was still the first blood shadow move of formless swordsmanship. A clashing sound could be heard when the two swords met. There was only a slight gap between these two powers. "You will be defeated," Zhang Tao said in a low voice. "Ridiculous," Jian Wushuang replied with a laugh. These two people began to display their power to its furthest extent. One used the knife, and the other the sword. Their splendid speed reached its peak. Clang, 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 clang. Numerous clashing sounds could be heard. The blade lights and sword shadows were extremely rapid. Both Jian Wushuang and Zhang Tao sensed sword principle of Gale, and it was very powerful. Zhang Tao had achieved the 4th level a year ago. Although it was not certain that he would achieve the 5th level, he had been able to fight with the level keepers in the 5th level for a long time. Jian Wushuang did not have a deep comprehension of Gale sword principle, and he was not as powerful as Zhang Tao, but he had obtained a better understanding of sword principle of Gale during the 2-hour cultivation in the secret land of heaven and earth. Thus he was no weaker than Zhang Tao now. The sword light moved and disappeared with the wind. The 3rd move of formless swordsmanship, expeditious maneuver. It's formless swordsmanship, and it's the 3rd move. Is this expeditious swordsmanship? Unbelievable. The surrounding Dragon Palace disciples were amazed. These disciples were familiar with the first sword skill of Tianzong dynasty, and several of them had cultivated the formless swordsmanship. All of them understood the high requirement of practicing this move. Formless swordsmanship. So what? Zhang Tao roared. The saber in his hand split straight down, with a bloody light flickering. It burst out in the blink of an eye. The scarlet light of the saber hit the sword light. The sword essence changed suddenly as Jian Wushuang twisted his wrist. It started as the sword essence of Gale, and suddenly became the heavy sword essence of Earth. What? Zhang Tao looked pale. Sword essence of Earth. The Dragon Palace disciples were shocked. It was very difficult to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth, and someone comprehending 2 types at the same time, not to mention both at a high level, was rarely seen. Very few disciples in Dragon Palace could comprehend 2 types of the realm at the same time. The swordsmanship Jian Wushuang exhibited was obviously the sword essence of Earth. Sword essence of Gale converted perfectly to sword essence of Earth. Sword edge swept Zhang Tao's sleeves and rolled up his robe. Zhang was defeated in this battle. Lose. Has Zhang Tao lost? The entire martial arts practice field went quiet. The Dragon Palace disciples were shocked. Some held contempt for Zhang Tao. Wang Yuan was amazed too. No one had expected this. A newcomer like Jian Wushuang could beat Zhang Tao. Only Jian Wushuang himself thought this was very normal. Relying on the perfectly converted sword essence of Gale and sword essence of Earth, I have fought for a long time at the 5th level. When I went through the Dragon Gate Pass, I improved my cultivation of these 2 sword essences after just 1 hour of learning secret land of heaven and earth. Now, I'm confident I'll pass the 5th level. Zhang Tao, on the other hand, still has a way to go before reaching the 5th level. It is natural that I should beat him. I even didn't do my best. Jian Wushuang laughed at heart. True, he had not done his best. If he had, it would not have taken so long to beat Zhang Tao. Of course, he had his reasons for not doing his best from the beginning. Zhang Tao had a gloomy look on his face. He was in agony. He had lost indeed, and with so many people watching, he could not change it. He transferred 1,000 points to Jian Wushuang immediately. When he saw that his pledge number had reached 3,000, Jian Wushuang smiled and looked around. Is there anyone who wants to fight with me? He called out in a loud voice. Me. An ice-cold girl stepped forward. Although Jian Wushuang beating Zhang Tao was beyond the expectations of many people, it did not count for anything. After all, Zhang Tao had only broken through to the 4th level, and he was not the top among those who were at this level. A duel is still 1,000 points. Jian Wushuang said. Good. The girl did not hesitate. She shot at him directly. Swish. A fierce blade slashed straight out. The blade's extreme speed caused a glimmer of heat. Haha, come on. Jian Wushuang laughed loudly. He moved his sword in a counterattack stance. The girl had a high cultivation of blade essence of raging fire. She was close to the 5th level, and even stronger than Zhang Tao. As she fought with Jian Wushuang, she soon discovered that Jian Wushuang not only had a strong ability using sword essence of Gale, but also the sword essence of Earth. Sometimes these two swordsmanships were very fast and smart. Sometimes they were heavy as a mountain pressing overwhelmingly. Two great changes of the sword essence quickly suppressed her. The fight did not last long. This fight caused many disciples of Dragon Palace to sigh. If her cultivation of the blade essence of raging fire were higher, she would not have been suppressed, and she would have had a better chance of winning. Yeah, he was just a little stronger than her. Jian Wushuang was just slightly stronger than the girl. Everyone could see it. Hence, the third challenger was ready to challenge. This challenger was much more powerful than the ice-cold girl. Everyone was expecting Jian Wushuang to be defeated in this fight, but the result was shocking. A narrow victory. The fight with the third challenger had lasted for nearly an hour. Jian Wushuang had finally obtained an extremely narrow victory. 3 consecutive fights had all been won. Jian Wushuang's points went from 2,000 to 5,000. The Dragon Palace disciples' expressions become a bit weird. They were not stupid. It was rather coincidental to win 3 fights in succession with such a trivial difference. Chapter 70. Chapter 70. Do not reject anyone. He was victorious in all 3 battles, and all of them were narrow victories. What a lucky guy. This swordsman, is he hiding his strength? Impossible. After all, he is just a newcomer. Those disciples of Dragon Palace knew that Jian Wushuang was only a newcomer who had passed the 4th level of Dragon Gate. Therefore, his strength should be very limited. However, they were very suspicious of him after he won these 3 consecutive battles, beating his opponents. A burly man came out among the crowd, looking extremely domineering, wielding a thick broadsword. Lin Feng. Lin Feng came out. Disciples of Dragon Palace all looked at this burly man. Lin Feng, you have gone through the 5th level. Aren't you ashamed of challenging a newcomer? Wang Yuan fumed with a dark face. Although Jian Wushuang had defeated 3 challengers who were at the 4th level of the Dragon Gate, this burly man, Lin Feng, had passed the 5th level already. You are a swordsman. You should also have the strength to break through the 5th level. Why can't I challenge him? Lin Feng replied indifferently, and his eyes looked to Jian Wushuang. Of course you can. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. To duel, it is still 1,000 points. Okay. Lin Feng nodded. Be careful. Whoosh. Lin Feng crossed 10 meters instantly and appeared before Jian Wushuang. He swung his thick broadsword ferociously. A water drop essence erupted. All of a sudden, Jian Wushuang felt like he had been plunged into a boundless sea with crashing waves. He was a lonely boat in the sea, at risk of capsizing any time. Water drop essence. Jian Wushuang frowned, immediately berated in a low voice. I'll break it down. A strong sword light pierced out at an alarming rate, tearing down everything with its speed. OM. The thick broadsword brought stacked waves, covering everything. The sword light pierced several ripples by Jian Wushuang. The power was weakened to the extreme, but the thick broadsword continued to deliver its full force. Retreat. Jian Wushuang retreated without any delay, exerting the sword essence of Earth at the same time. The best skill of sword essence of Earth, thick and strong, was defense. Hua, 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 hua. Lin Feng's broadsword domain erupted completely. A series of shadows split endlessly, and it did not stop. Jian Wushuang felt lost, as if he had plunged into a huge whirlpool. No matter how he struggled to resist, he could not get rid of it. He only relied on sword essence of earth to resist. Water drop essence. This is water drop essence. Jian Wushuang, with a trace of horror. This was the first time he had fought with such a strong, concentrated drip realm. He had a new appreciation towards this water drop essence. Water, the greatest power of water, despite it being seemingly weak and feeble, but it had the power to wear through boulders. After all, it is a lack of sword tactics, of sword essence of earth. Otherwise, I can fight with Lin Feng. Jian Wushuang sighed. His heart was yearning for formless sword wave. The swordsman is suppressed. He is finally suppressed. He will be defeated. It is normal. Lin Feng, after all, has passed the 5th level. The disciples of Dragon Palace around, he saw the scene on the battlefield, and all of them sighed. But at this moment, a sword shadow pierced out in a straight line at incredible speed. It was the 3rd type of formless swordsmanship, expeditious maneuver. Logically, the 3rd type of formless swordsmanship was not a threat to Lin Feng, but once the sword shadow appeared, boom. It was an extremely forceful sword, its power unexpectedly soaring at this moment, almost directly defeating Lin Feng's offensive. The sharp sword shadow was more than a stroke crossing his shoulder. What? Still in shock, Lin Feng's clothes at his shoulder had been cut away. Jian Wushuang had still won this fight. What's the matter? Lost? How did he lose? Everyone around was confused. Lin Feng was so superior, completely suppressing Jian Wushuang. And he should have won immediately, but yet he had suddenly lost. Only Lin Feng, himself, barely knew the reasons for his loss. Strength, its strength. His power surged suddenly on that sword, so that the power of his swordsmanship also rose sharply, tearing through everything directly. Lin Feng thought inwardly, but he was curious that Jian Wushuang was at spiritual sea realm, like him. Why was his power so much stronger than his? He did not know that compared to ordinary martial warrior, the biggest advantage of Jian Wushuang was not his sword essence nor swordsmanship, but cultivation method. He practiced the heavenly creation skill. He was an inverse cultivator who defied the natural order. Lin Feng's power was at the peak of ordinary spiritual sea realm, and Jian Wushuang, at the peak of his spiritual outbreak, could compare to Gold Core. The spiritual power of Gold Core was far from spiritual sea realm. In the Dragon Palace, although there were numerous disciples, most of them were just as the spiritual sea realm. Only a handful of people could break through to reach Gold Core. All men defeated by Jian Wushuang were just at the spiritual sea realm, and he deliberately controlled his power to fight with them. However, Jian Wushuang had only broken out 30% power while facing Lin Feng. Although it had only been 30%, it was also stronger than the normal spiritual sea realm peak. So he defeated Lin Feng with one sword strike. Lin Feng defeated. Jian Wushuang got 1,000 points again. Who else wants to fight with me? Jian Wushuang looked around, but those disciples of the Dragon Palace were now hesitant. Before, everyone treated Jian Wushuang as a soft persimmon and wanted to pinch and get points from him. But after these 4 showdowns, especially the fight with Lin Feng, they still did not know why Lin Feng failed in the end. They also realized that Jian Wushuang had hidden his real strength before, so now no one was willing to duel him. Watching this scene, Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes, but immediately laughed. Among disciples of the Dragon Palace, there are innumerable geniuses, so many people. Why is it so difficult to find someone to duel with me? Or are you reluctant to fight with me, as I am just a newcomer? Well, among you, as long as you went through the 5th level, you can challenge me. I will not reject anyone. As for the bets, all will be 1,000 points. Do not reject anyone. Disciples of Dragon Palace around, he turned to a dark face. This swordsman, what a crazy guy. He even dares to say that he would not reject anyone, clearly looking down on the disciples who broke through the 5th level. I'll fight with you. Most of disciples of the Dragon Palace were infuriated by Jian Wushuang. A disciple who had broken through the 5th level came to fight with Jian Wushuang immediately. Chapter 71. Chapter 71. 11 match winning streak. The battle continued. Jian Wushuang's arrogant words of, "All are welcome," indeed annoyed the disciples of the Dragon Palace. Many disciples who had broken through the 5th level itched to have a try, which was as he expected. Based on the comprehension of realm, these disciples were almost all at the level of exceptional spiritual sea realm, while Jian Wushuang barely reached the 5th level. So many of the disciples who broke through the 5th floor are stronger than him. Nevertheless, his greatest strength was in his cultivation method, which had superior overall power. Relying on his absolute strength, he won the 5th confrontation, followed by the 6th and 7th challenges, until the 11th. Jian Wushuang won all 11 matches. Those disciples of Dragon Palace at the martial arts practice field were speechless in astonishment. It was nothing for Jian Wushuang to win 1 or 2 battles consecutively, but now he had won 11 battles successively. In addition to the first 3 disciples who were at the 4th level, the other 8 disciples were all at the 5th level. However, they were all defeated by Jian Wushuang. It is his power that makes this happen. His power is even stronger than exceptional spiritual sea realm. It's strange that he has so much power as he is only at the level of spiritual sea realm. He has completed 11 battles in a row, but his spiritual power has not diminished. Why? Did he not need to consume his spiritual power when confronting others? Everyone was astonished. They thought Jian Wushuang's strength and vast spiritual power were amazing. Needless to say, his strength was much stronger than exceptional spiritual sea realm, but it was also his vast spiritual power shocked others so much. Several battles among these 11 battles were bitter fights. So how much spiritual power would these successive battles consume? Usually warriors needed to stop and have a rest to recover their spiritual power after, at most, 3 battles. But what about Jian Wushuang? Keep fighting. After 11 battles without any pause, Jian Wushuang won all of them without any reduction in spiritual power. How could this happen? And he was actually still at his peak level. What kind of monster is he? All those watching thought that this was incredible. Who else wants to battle me for points? Jian Wushuang said confidently and looked around. The disciples of Dragon Palace looked at each other in speechless despair, and nobody stood out. Winning 11 battles in a row, Jian Wushuang proved to all that he was strong enough, and those people who wanted to challenge him would surely lose face and worse 1,000 points. For them, 1,000 points was a big deal. No one else. Seeing everyone's hesitation, Jian Wushuang nodded with satisfaction. However, as he was about to turn around and leave, an ethereal voice was suddenly heard. "It's very crowded here, isn't it?" The soft voice was followed by the arrival of a handsome man dressed in a luxurious robe, who slowly appeared. "Nangong Jia? Isn't he isolating himself? Why is he here?" Haha, it must be the commotion. A burst of noise swirled all around, which made it clear that these disciples of Dragon Palace knew this handsome man. Jian Wushuang also looked at the man and found his appearance was almost perfect with slender physique, handsome face, and a free and ethereal temperament. Soon after I finished my self-isolation, I heard that there was a newcomer in Dragon Palace, and he said that anyone who had broken through the 5th level can challenge him. What arrogance! Nan Gong Jia smiled lightly, but his eyes were instantly locked on Jian Wushuang. Nan Gong Jia, my brother has said this, but these words are only for the disciples of Dragon Palace at the level of spiritual C. So you, who has broken through 6 months ago, shouldn't be here. Wang Yuan couldn't help but shout. Most disciples of the Dragon Palace were at the level of spiritual C realm, but a small part of them were at the level of Gold Core, and Nan Gong Jia was one of them. Oh, I do not know that your brother has made a distinction between spiritual C realm and Gold Core. I am also the disciple of Dragon Palace who has broken through the 5th level, so it's okay for me to join this battle. Moreover, your brother just has a normal perception of the realm of heaven and earth, but he successively defeated so many disciples of Dragon Palace who are at the 5th level. It is precisely that his strength is much stronger than the others. I think his strength will not be weaker than a disciple at the level of primordial Gold Core if he goes all out. So it's quite fair for me to challenge him. Nan Gong Jia said, Exactly. This swordsman defeated so many disciples because that his strength is stronger than exceptional spiritual C realm. Now Nan Gong Jia's strength is also stronger than exceptional spiritual C realm. These two should have a battle. Immediately, some disciples kicked up a fuss. Wang Yuan wanted to refute them. Wang Yuan, stop. Jian Wushuang waved one of his hands to interrupt him and continued, Since I said that, I won't break my promise. Nan Gong Jia, it's okay to gamble with you, but the stakes are still only 1,000 points. 1,000 points. Nan Gong Jia raised his eyebrow and said, No problem. I'll start. Nan Gong Jia smiled thinly, and his figure began to slowly dissipate at this moment. Whoosh! A sword light appeared in front of Jian Wushuang suddenly. So fast. Jian Wushuang was greatly frightened. He knew sword principle of Gale, and was also good at speed, but the speed of Nan Gong Jia was so fast that he even did not know when his sword was drawn. The sword essence of earth was so strong that Jian Wushuang did not hesitate to defend with it. Clang, 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 clang. Nan Gong Jia slashed his sword 10 times consecutively with increasing speed and power. Jian Wushuang went for broke to going all out with sword essence of earth to defend against Nan Gong Jia. However, he felt that he could not sustain this because the sword shadow was like thousands of poisonous snakes. Suddenly, pop! Nan Gong Jia's sword edge crossed Jian Wushuang's right-hand wrist with a very clear sword scar. The pain in Jian Wushuang's wrist made him loosen his grip of the triple kill sword. Bro Jr., are you okay? Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro immediately rushed over. I'm fine. Jian Wushuang shook his head and picked up triple kill sword again. Nan Gong Jia, the battle is just for learning from each other. You shouldn't hurt him so much. Wang Yuan shouted in a low voice. Oh, sorry, it's just an accident. Nan Gong Jia replied immediately, but his joking smile made it clear to everyone that he did it on purpose. Chapter 72. Chapter 72. Scheduling a battle. Damn it. Wang Yuan gnashed. Bro Senior, can I help you? Yang Zishuan said with an increasingly cold look on Nan Gong Jia. They all knew that Nan Gong Jia Gong did it deliberately. No, Jian Wushuang shook his head. He knew that Yang Zishuan had enough strength to defeat Nan Gong Jia, but he thought this was his own matter, and he did not want others to help him. I lost this battle. 1,000 points. Here you are. Jian Wushuang gave Nangong Jia 1,000 points directly without hesitation. After getting the 1,000 points, Nangong Jia didn't change his facial expression but touched his nose and said suddenly, "Swordsman, do you want to fight with me one more time?" Jian Wushuang was so surprised. "Nangong Jia, don't go that far." Wang Yuan immediately shouted, "Don't get me wrong." Nangong Jia shook his head and said, "I intend to continue the battle for points, but this time the condition will be changed. For example, you will win as long as you withstand my swords for 3 times. What do you think about it?" "I can win after 3 swords." Wang Yuan immediately looked at Jian Wushuang in confusion. Disciples of the Dragon Palace around him all looked over and discussed this heatedly. What does Nangong Jia intend to do? Jiang Wushuang will be the winner after fighting with him. For 3 moves? In the past battle, swordsman used nearly 20 moves before he won. What's wrong with Nangong Jia? Does he want to give his points to others for nothing? These disciples of Dragon Palace were confused over Nangong Jia's behavior because in the past battle, Jian Wushuang endured nearly 20 moves before he won. Now he wanted to defeat Jian Wushuang with less than 3 moves. What a joke! If I agree with the battle, how many points will you bet? Jian Wushuang looked at Nangong Jia calmly. 1,000 points is too few. I believe you have many points now because you have won so many battles before. So I will bet my 7,000 points, including my current points and the 1,000 points I won from you. Nangong Jia said, with smile. 7,000 points. People around he were all shocked. Nangong Jia is too confident. How could he be so brave to bet 7,000 points in such an unfair confrontation? 7,000 points. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly with his pupils shrinking, but then he rejected, "Sorry, I'm not interested in it." "What?" Nangong Jia changed his facial expression. "He refused? It was incredible," someone around exclaimed. "It's clear that the swordsman can win points without any effort, but he refused it. Is he a fool?" "Humph, you are a real fool. Nangong Jia must have enough ability to bet on 7,000 points with the swordsman. In my opinion, the swordsman is really stupid if he agreed with the battle." Yes, Nangong Jia absolutely has enough confidence in his strength. Many of these disciples of Dragon Palace were shrewd enough to see through the intention of Nangong Jia. Jian Wushuang, of course, was not a fool. "Humph, wanting to set a trap for me to get more points from my hands?" Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. In the past battle, though Nangong Jia did his utmost to conceal himself, Jian Wushuang saw the truth clearly. He did not do his best, and he even just used less than half of his strength. Jian Wushuang knew it clearly. It looked like Nangong Jia beat him with nearly 20 moves in the last battle, but in fact, Nangong Jia did it deliberately. Jian Wushuang had no doubt that if Nangong Jia goes for broke, he could not withstand 1 move, let alone 3 moves. His comprehension for sword essence is much better than me, and he definitely has the strength to break through the 6th level. The 6th level? Yes, this was Jian Wushuang's assessment for the strength of Nangong Jia. Nangong Jia was at the level of Gold Core, and his understanding of sword essence was at the 6th level of Dragon Gate. His strength could surely defeat him with no more than 3 moves. He rejected. He didn't fall into my trap. Nangong Jia was very angry at this moment. How did he know that I deliberately concealed my strength, or was he too cautious to use 7,000 points to bet with me? Nangong Jia. Jian Wushuang's voice was heard again. Nangong Jia could not help looking up. "If you really want to bet with me, it's okay." Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and continued, "But today I battled with others many times, and my spiritual power has been consumed greatly. My wrist is hurt, so I have no power to battle again. Therefore, we can conduct this battle in 3 months' time." 3 months? Nangong Jia frowned. "Of course, after 3 months, I will have a fair battle with you, and I will accept any points you want to bet. What do you think?" Jian Wushuang said. Hearing these words, Nangong Jia's eyes were bright. "Deal." Nangong Jia agreed quickly. "Deal." Jian Wushuang nodded seriously. Hearing their words, people around were confused. Is this swordsman stupid? Having a fair battle with Nangong Jia in 3 months? Points are also up to Nangong Jia? Does he think that he can beat Nangong Jia in 3 months? He is definitely crazy. Almost everyone thought Jian Wushuang was crazy and silly. After all, Nangong Jia had great strength. Many disciples knew from the last battle that he could break through the sixth, and he was also an expert of the gold core realm, while Jian Wushuang just was at the level of spiritual sea realm. Even if his strength was great enough to fight with primordial gold core, how was his understanding of sword essence? Jian Wushuang's understanding of sword essence could just narrowly break through the 5th level. What a big gap! Could he make up such a large gap in 3 months? What a joke! Ha ha! Nangong Jia was very happy, and he laughed. "Your words have been heard by so many people present. I will come see you in 3 months." After these words, Nangong Jia turned around and left happily. As he was leaving, Nangong Jia was still thinking about the scene in 3 months. This guy didn't know that I just showed a small part of my strength, and I didn't show my perception of sword essence completely. I also didn't show my trump card. Even in this case, I beat him easily. How can he beat me in 3 months? Haha, come on. I'm looking forward to that day, but that day I will bet much more than 7,000 points. Nangong Jia was full of confidence for the battle in 3 months. All those on the martial arts practice field looked at Jian Wushuang with pity in their eyes. However, no one noticed that a subtle smile appeared in the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth. Chapter 73. Chapter 73. Sword Skills Being Obtained. It was not long before Jian Wushuang left the martial arts practice field. "Wushuang, are you sure that you can duel with Nangong Jia in 3 months?" Wang Yuan could not help asking the question. "I have already promised him. I can't break my word, can I?" Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. "But Nangong Jia is very strong." Wang Yuan said seriously. "I know, Nangong Jia can break through level 6, said Yang Zaishuan. "I know." Jian Wushuang nodded, but was not afraid. "Take it easy. I promised I would duel with him, and I'm confident of success. In 3 months, you'll see." Jian Wushuang had a faint smile. He did not feel anxious. Perhaps 3 months was a short time for ordinary warriors, but for Jian Wushuang it was too long. It had only taken him 4 months before he understood what the sword essence was. It had only taken 4 months before Jian Wushuang was eligible to break through to the level 5 of the Dragon Gate. Perhaps even Dragon Palace disciples would be shocked at his cultivation speed. He had cultivated by himself without any teachers or help for 4 months. Even so, great progress had been made, not to mention now in the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace was renowned as a holy place for cultivating. It was rich in resources. For temples of earth, fire, water, and wind, the secret land of heaven, and earth, the secret pavilion. Besides, Jian Wushuang could learn from so many talents now by exchanging views. With such wonderful conditions for cultivation, he would certainly comprehend the realm of heaven and earth faster. That was why he was confident enough to duel with Nangong Jie in 3 months' time, and had promised that no matter how many points Nangong Jie required, Jian Wushuang would agree. Anyway, nobody but Jian Wushuang himself knew the reason. Shortly afterwards, Jian Wushuang went to the secret pavilion again. He had hardly won 11 duels in succession when he lost one in the martial art practice field. Every time he won a duel, Jian Wushuang would get 1,000 points. So he had 10,000 points in total, including the 2,000 points from his own. He had 12,000 points in total. He was very well off now. Surely now that he had enough points, Jian Wushuang would naturally buy whatever he wanted. Using 7,000 points, he bought the Formless Sword Wave and 3 skills of the Formless Swordsmanship. Then he exchanged 1,500 points for the Reincarnation Sword Skill in Comprehending Sword Essence of Earth. Reincarnation Sword Skill was a sword skill for defense. Sword Essence of Earth was the best for defense. After obtaining these 3 superb sword skill, Jian Wushuang bought 21st class divine pills with 400 points. Heavenly Spirit Pill was similar to Spirit Cultivating Pill. Only by breaking through spiritual sea realm could warriors take Heavenly Spirit Pill. Weaker warriors should take Spirit Cultivating Pill. First class Heavenly Spirit Pill was the best in Heavenly Spirit Pills. It was potent enough to produce the desired effect. In the outside world, First class Heavenly Spirit Pill was very rare with extraordinary value, but in the secret pavilion of Dragon Palace, it only cost 20 points for one first-class Heavenly Spirit Pill. Thus, Jian Wushuang exchanged 400 points for 21st-class Heavenly Spirit Pills. As soon as he had bought what he wanted, he returned to his manor. In the courtyard of the manor, Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro sat at the stone table drinking wine. From time to time, they turned to look at Jian Wushuang, who was practicing his sword skill. Jian Wushuang happened to be aggressive with his firm sword shadow. It was quite easy for him to learn the first move of Formless Sword Wave without stopping. The second, third, fourth, sixth move, Formless Sword Ripple, was divided into 2 parts. Each part included 7 sword skills. However, Jian Wushuang was such a genius that he performed the first 6 sword skills easily. He has performed the 6th move. Wang Yuan was shocked. After having bought the sword skill, he performed the first 6 moves in merely 2 hours. Even if he had comprehended the sword essence of Earth, he shouldn't have performed such sword tactics so fluently. Yang Zishuan was a little surprised as well. After all, sword skills were combined perfectly using sword essence and swordsmanship. It was important to comprehend sword essence, but it was more important and difficult to grasp every move of the wonderful sword skills. Like a general warrior, even if he got the sword skills and had the appropriate sword essence, it would take a long time to learn and grasp the moves and skills of sword tactics. But Jian Wushuang was absolutely not an ordinary warrior. After having bought the sword skills, he performed the first 6 moves in just 2 hours with no difficulty. He is a genius, Yang Zishuan thought, with eyes blazing like torches. Wushuang has a gift for sword principle. He's such a genius. If an ordinary genius wants to grasp the first moves of such advanced sword skills, he must learn for several days. Wang Yuan sighed. Jian Wushuang had hardly performed the 6th move of the Formless Sword Wave when he stopped practicing. Formless Sword Wave is worth 5,000 points. Every skill or move is powerful enough, so I'll comprehend the sword essence of Earth as much as possible. Jian Wushuang was quite satisfied. He had always been distressed, for he could not comprehend the sword essence of Earth fully without suitable sword skills. But now he did not need to worry. What a pity! Perhaps I cannot comprehend the sword essence of earth fully. Although I am trying my best, I cannot break through the sixth move, Jian Wushuang thought. He had grasped the basic skills of the seventh move, but had not been able to perform the complete swordsmanship. Haste creates waste. I have to walk with a firm step, Jian Wushuang thought with a faint smile. Shortly afterwards, he started learning the reincarnation sword skill. Early the next morning, Jian Wushuang came to the four temples. The four temples of earth, fire, water, and wind were renowned for their 6 strong temple masters who would occasionally give instruction in the palace. Today, a master was giving lessons. Jian Wushuang went into the ground palace where many of Dragon Palace disciples sat on the ground. Some were discussing as they pleased. Jian Wushuang did not mind the disciples talking around him. He sat down and closed his eyes to cultivate. It was not long before a master appeared. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and turned to him. He was a middle-aged man wearing a golden robe. He looked quite kind. He seemed to be an ordinary person without excessive tyranny, but when Jian Wushuang first looked at this middle-aged man, he found himself deeply attracted by the master, as if the man had something magical. That is why he can give lessons in Dragon Palace. Although he showed no strength outside, he seemed stronger than Yi Rafeng, Jian Wushuang thought. Chapter 74. Chapter 74. 3 months. The whole Earth Temple fell into complete silence immediately when the man showed up. The middle-aged man sat on the ground and started giving lessons. What he taught were some concepts and experiences. He occasionally performed a few movements of the Earth Essence realm. Every one of the disciples, including Jian Wushuang, listened intently. It was not long before Jian Wushuang felt puzzled about the lessons. He fell into deep thought. After an hour, the man stopped teaching. He waved his hands to the people in the palace before all the disciples on the ground left. Jian Wushuang rose to walk out of the palace slowly. He was in deep contemplation. He did not come out of it until he was far away from the palace. Is that it? That's the reason. A flash appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. His eyes were sparkling like fire. He turned to gaze at the Earth Temple and inhaled deeply. He was clear that though the middle-aged man had only taught for 1 hour, Jian Wushuang had still learned a lot. He had also comprehended unknown knowledge about sword essence of earth in his head. Perhaps this is why the 4 temples are called one of the 3 treasures of Dragon Palace. It was so helpful to listen to the lessons from the temple master. Jian Wushuang sighed. For temples of the 3 treasures of Dragon Palace did not require many points. Dragon Palace disciples could listen to their lessons whenever they wanted, but this did not mean the 4 temples were useless. Instead, the 4 temples were sometimes more helpful and larger than the secret land of heaven and earth and the secret pavilion. I did not comprehend a lot and had no teachers to ask before. I relied only on myself to cultivate. However, everything I needed is now in front of me. Next I'll know what achievements I can make. Jian Wushuang held his hands tightly with eyes sparkling. From then on, Jian Wushuang was deeply focused on cultivating. His cultivation was very regular. When the temple masters of the Earth Temple and the Wind Temple in the 4 temples gave general lessons, Jian Wushuang would go and study by himself afterwards. Sometimes he would go to the martial arts practice field and watch the other disciples' fights. When he fought with others, he always kept his strength. As for the secret land of heaven and earth, he could not go there whenever he wanted. After all, although it was helpful for him to comprehend the sword essence there, he would think about the mechanism of it for a long time. Thus, Jian Wushuang went there once every 2 weeks in general. 3 months passed quickly. These were the most precious 3 months for any newcomer. One must know that almost everyone lacked in good teachers and cultivation resources before going to the Dragon Palace. So they began to learn considerably in the 3 months. In the history of the Dragon Palace, some disciples had been ordinary, but after the 3 months they showed significant talent and improved remarkably. Never mind Jian Wushuang, who had woken up his sword soul during the 3 months. How much had he improved? He was in the manner. His sword shadow was so swift that it was like lightning in the sky. A gust of wind passed. When he stopped performing, the wind died away. Everything fell into silence. No, this movement is still far from perfect. Jian Wushuang wrinkled his brows in concentration. Though it was fast enough, he was not satisfied with the movement he had just performed. I have completely grasped the 4th movement of the formless swordsmanship, but the 5th is still wrong. The 4th movement of the formless swordsmanship was named 100 Variations, which he had completely grasped in 2 months. But the 5th, it was much more difficult than the 4th. The first 3 movements of the formless swordsmanship were very complicated, while the middle 3 movements were even more difficult. Never mind the last 3 movements. That's why the formless swordsmanship is renowned as the greatest sword skill in Tianzong Dynasty. Although the formless sword wave was also a sword skill, it only took him 2 hours to completely grasp all of the first 7 movements and perform the first 6 movements on the ground. But the formless swordsmanship was much more complicated than the formless sword wave. He had completely comprehended the 4th movements after 3 months. However, he did not understand the 5th. Wushuang. Wang Yuan hastily came in with his raspy voice, and Yang Zishuan and Su Ro followed him. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang turned to look at them. Wang Yuan approached Jian Wushuang and breathed for a while before he said, Nangong Jie has gone through the Dragon Gate Pass. Oh. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised, but immediately said with a faint smile, which level did he pass? The 6th. Wang Yuan looked serious and said, as we know, he has passed the 6th in less than an hour. It will not be long before he goes through the 7th, but he will stay there for a long time before he advances further. 3 months ago, I knew he could pass the 6th, but he did not try until today. It was obviously deliberate for him to go through the 6th today, when you will fight with him. I think he was afraid you might flee away if he did so earlier. Yang Zishuan said. Timid Su Ro, who had been speechless, added, there's a threshold between the 6th and the 7th Dragon Gate. The level keeper of the 7th is much stronger than that of the 6th. He could fight with the level keeper of the 7th, which means he is very strong. Jian Wushuang listened carefully, and he nodded slightly. Indeed, it was not a big deal for him to go through the 6th, because they had already known he could pass it, but it was completely different for him to fight with the level keeper of the 7th. Nangong Jie's capacity to understand the sword essence is the best even among the disciples who have gone through the 6th. Yang Zishuan said, Wushuang, what's your plan? Wang Yuan turned to look at him. All I can do is take measures according to the actual situation. Jian Wushuang smiled. You have a big heart. Wang Yuan rolled his eyes. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not feel anxious. He had passed the 6th level in Dragon Gate and fought sharply for a long time with the 7th level keeper. So what? So what? I'm not shocked by that at all. It's funny. It was because he had not gone through the Dragon Palace for 3 months. Otherwise, it was Nangong Jie who had to worry now. You 3 can talk while I have to go to the secret land of heaven and earth once more. Jian Wushuang said. He left to go to the secret land of heaven and earth. Wang Yuan and the others watched Jian Wushuang's back from afar. They were worried. Wushuang must be anxious. That's why he is going to the secret land of heaven and earth. I am afraid he's not confident about fighting with Nangong Jia. Wang Yuan said, seriously, I hope Nangong Jia will not bet too many points. Otherwise, it'll be your turn to win back the points for Wushuang. I do not mind fighting with him, but I am afraid Nangong Jia dares not to fight with me, Yang Zhaixuan said in a cold voice. Chapter 75. Chapter 75. Battle for Massive Points. Despite it being early in the morning, there were many disciples of Dragon Palace, some of whom were even at the 6th or 7th level, gathered on the martial arts practice field. Many people wanted to watch, as it was well known that Jian Wushuang and Nangong Jia would fight here in 3 months. Have you heard? Nangong Jia got past the 6th level in Dragon Gate. He even fought a close battle for a long time with a 7th level keeper. Of course, Nangong Jia didn't fight earlier or later until the last day before the duel. His purpose was very clear. Look, he is coming. Nangong Jia, in a luxurious robe with charming smile, and another 2 disciples came over side by side, slowly walking amongst all the disciples of Dragon Palace. The 2 disciples were well known in Dragon Palace, who both had passed the 6th level. You two, don't forget what I told you. Nangong Jia talked with the 2 disciples in a low voice. Don't worry, we will never forget what we have promised, not to mention that it is also important for us. One of them replied, 3,000 points. It is not a small number. I will not lend it to you easily if I didn't know your actual ability. The other one smiled. So, you two just enjoy the fight. As soon as the fight is over, I will return the 3,000 points with an extra 1,000 points. Nangong Jia smiled. Of course, we have never doubted your ability. The 2 disciples smiled. They have both battled with Nangong Jia, so they knew his ability. There was no point worrying. It was why they agreed to lend their points to Nangong Jia. Not long after Nangong Jia arrived at the martial arts practice field, Jian Wushuang also appeared, of course followed by Wang Yuan and others. Look, the newbie is coming. It seems that he is confident. Wouldn't a genius like him who is qualified to be a member of Dragon Palace be confident? What's more, he has been in Dragon Palace for 3 months, which is a time of great improvement. So, as a newbie, he must have improved significantly in this period. Great improvement? So what? How far can he go in 3 months? He could get past the 5th level with difficulty 3 months ago. It is unlikely that he could reach the 6th level. He can only beat Nangong Jia in his dreams. Yeah, he is a newbie after all. Hope he won't lose too badly. Guess how many points will Nangong Jia bet with the newbie? The newbie has said in public that he will agree with any amount of points. Let's wait and see. He won't win anyway. It will be a lesson for him to be more humble as a newbie. Disciples of Dragon Palace on the scene spoke loudly without much thought, so both Jian Wushuang and Nangong Jia could hear them clearly. Swordsman, you dared to come? Nangong Jia laughed and looked at Jian Wushuang. I promised to fight with you 3 months ago, so I've come. Jian Wushuang said indifferently. Great courage, but you are a newbie after all, too naive. Nangong Jia shook his head and said, Cut the crap, Nangong Jia, how many points do you want to bet? Jian Wushuang asked. Don't worry, you are a newbie after all, so I won't go too far. Nangong Jia grinned. I know you won 11 fight 3 months ago. Although you have been defeated by me, you won 10,000 points in the end. Plus you came to here to fight and won some points. So you have about 15,000 points. I have borrowed my friend's points, 12,000 in total. Let's bet 12,000 points. 12,000 points. Isn't this too much? All the people present were stunned. They all knew that Jian Wushuang got many points by fighting, but scores were very valuable and important in Secret Pavilion and Secret Land of Heaven and Earth. It must be difficult for him to take out 12,000 points. Isn't it too much? 12,000 points. 12,000 points were enough to exchange for several secret techniques, or to go to Secret Land of Heaven and Earth 12 times. It was a large amount for any disciples of Dragon Palace. Nangong Jia had gone too far in betting 12,000 points. Do you think the points are too much? But you said yourself that you would agree to whatever bet I wanted. Nangong Jia put on an act and said, 12,000 points. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded his head directly. Haha, great courage. Nangong Jia said with a smile immediately. The drill ground was immediately filled with turmoil. He agreed. The swordsman dared to take it. It is 12,000 points. The swordsman has so many points. Is he being arrogant at his own cost? Seeing all the worried eyes, Jian Wushuang smiled secretly and turned to Wang Yuan and other two people. Bro Senior and Sis Junior, I need you to borrow me some points. Jian Wushuang said. He did not have 12,000 points, but he could borrow them. Do you have the confidence, bro? It is 12,000 points. Wang Yuan frowned and said, Definitely. Jian Wushuang nodded. Okay, it is enough to hear that. I trust you. You can have all my 4,000 points. Wang Yuan said directly, I have exchanged for 2 secrets before, so I don't have that many. You can have my left one, 5,000 points. Yang Zhaixuan said, You can also have my 3,000 points. Su Ro said timidly. Enough. Jian Wushuang smiled and looked at his bros and sis gratefully. Jian Wushuang regarded the 3 people as his bros and sis the moment they lent their points to him without any hesitation. 12,000 points. Jian Wushuang took out his disciple's pledge. The points in the pledge were shown to everyone. Jian Wushuang looked at Nangong Jia with a threatening gaze. Nangong Jia, you looked for this fight yourself. Primordial Gold Core is a big deal. You got past the 6th level in Dragon Gate and fought closely for a long time with a 7th level keeper. Is that a big deal? I will test how much progress I have made in the 3 months by fighting with you. Come on. A 12,000 point battle would begin at any moment. Chapter 76. Chapter 76. Formless Sword Ripple. Ha, freshman, you should be careful. Nangong Jia's laugh rang out on martial arts practice field. Choo! A cold sword shadow broke the air and moved towards Jian Wushuang. The sword edge was cold enough to tear through anything. Formless swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang was surprised. Jian Wushuang was very familiar with this sword skill. Nangong Jia was using the first move of the formless sword art, Blood Shadow. Jian Wushuang drew his sword and used the formless sword art too. The 2 sword shadows were both incredibly fast. They entwined with each other like 2 serpents, then separated immediately after colliding. Fuck off, followed by a howl. The long sword in Jian Wushuang's hand drew up immediately, filled with killing intent. A fresh, bloody sword shadow moved through the air like it was dancing in the wind. In an instant, the air was cut through directly. Ha ha! Nangong Jia laughed. Then he moved his wrist and used the same sword movement. It started with the first move, Blood Shadow. Then came the second move, Sword Killing movement. They were tied again at the end. Time for a different skill. Jian Wushuang had a cold look in his eyes. Whoosh! A sword shadow immediately stabbed out. It seemed very slow, but the real speed was astonishingly fast. The fourth move of formless swordsmanship, 100 illusions. The fourth move, ridiculous. Nangong Jie yelled out and grinned. The same slow sword came out from Nangong Jie. They struck each other and then separated at the same time. Jian Wushuang stared at Nangong Jie with a dignified look. Swordsman, this is your level of strength after earnest cultivation in Dragon Palace for 3 months. Nangong Jie stared at Jian Wushuang with a little derision. It is really brave of you to take out those 12,000 points and fight with only this much strength. Stupid enough. I will show you my real strength. After saying that, Nangong Jie prepared to make his next move. Wang. It seemed slow, but it was actually an astonishingly fast strike. Nangong Jie still used the fourth move, 100 illusions. It was the same move, but it was twice as fast as before. The previous sword strike was already extremely fast. How did he manage to reach a speed that was twice as fast as before? So fast. Jian Wushuang's complexion couldn't help changing when he saw that terrifying speed sword. You lose, Nangong Jie growled in an excited voice at that moment. Will he be defeated? All the people around there paid attention to the scene, watched as the sword light approached Jian Wushuang. After the hum, sword essence of earth was released from Jian Wushuang's sword. A thorough and majestic sword shadow struck out. The sword shadow seemed to be overlapped by numerous sword shadows, striking out violently. It seemed like a 100 million pound mountain, grinding everything as it violently moved forwards. What? Nangong Jie's complexion changed a lot. Before he could respond, the 100 million pound mountain reached him. Pung! The loud roar shook the whole space instantly, with its power forming several shock waves. It even swept away many disciples of Dragon Palace that were too close at that time. After that strike on the battleground, Nangong Jie was knocked back awkwardly. He quickly noticed a sharp pain in his palm and a little blood. A giant sword scar, nearly a foot wide, was left on the ground in front of him. Lots of disciples of Dragon Palace around there gasped after seeing the sword scar. It was the seventh move, formless sword wave. Some disciples of Dragon Palace immediately recognized the swordsmanship Jian Wushuang used just now. Formless sword wave. Nangong Jie felt stressed. There were a lot of sword skills in the secret pavilion. That included some famous ones, such as formless sword wave. He knew that. Formless sword wave was quite fitting for warriors who comprehended the sword essence of earth. In general, if you could fully use the sixth move, you would be able to pass the fifth level in the Dragon Gate. As for the seventh move, it was no problem to get past the sixth level in the Dragon Gate. I was too careless. I didn't expect his comprehension of the sword essence of earth to be much higher than the sword essence of Gale, but this is the end. I will not give him another chance to use that move. Nangong Jie thought solemnly. The seventh move, formless sword wave, was powerful. A sane person would not confront the toughness with toughness. However, warriors who comprehended the sword essence of Gale depended on speed rather than strength. Nangong Jie. Jian Wushuang's voice rang out suddenly. His black eyes stared at this Nangong Jie with indifference. You said you would show me your real strength just now, and I've seen it. Jian Wushuang spoke, with a grin that was similar to a blade. Now I'll let you see my real strength. After saying that, Jian Wushuang held the triple kill sword with both hands, raising the long sword high. Wang, the splendid sword essence of earth, reached its peak at that moment. Boom! Such a terrifying sword stroke. Before the sword stroke landed, everyone already felt a horrible power was continuously condensing. The momentum in Jian Wushuang's triple kill sword increased suddenly and sharply. Everyone saw a giant sword shadow forming slowly, 3 meters long and half-meter wide. Oppression. The moment the giant sword shadow formed, the oppressive atmosphere reached its peak. The air seemed to shiver. Formless sword wave, the 8th move. Jian Wushuang shouted out suddenly. The huge streak of sword shadow drew everyone's attention. With a soaring aura, it wavered slightly and then lashed out. The world suddenly changed colors. The 8th move? Can it really be the 8th move? Nangong Jie's eye opened widely. He was already shocked when Jian Wushuang used the 7th move. Now, Jian Wushuang was about to use the 8th move. It was well known that anyone who was able to perform the 7th move was qualified to reach the 6th level. The 8th move, the formless sword wave, 8th move, along with his comprehension of the sword essence of Earth, was enough to pass the 7th level. 7th floor. Although he fought fiercely with the keeper of the 7th floor for a long time when he went through the Dragon Gate yesterday, he knew that it was not a fierce fight. Instead, it was a very suffocating fight because he was completely suppressed by the keeper. He only managed to prolong the fight for a while by relying on his speed. He clearly understood that he was far from being able to pass the 7th level. But now, someone who entered Dragon Palace for only 3 months ago surpassed him completely in comprehension of sword essence. Nangong Jie was dumbfounded when the splendid giant sword shadow hacked directly towards him. Following that, an unprecedented look of madness appeared on his face. Swordsman, you made me do this. Chapter 77. Chapter 77. Profound Gold Core Realm. The huge and mighty sword shadow crashed down. The 8th move. He can master the 8th move. All the disciples of Dragon Palace held their breath. Go away! Nangong Jie shouted suddenly, with a tremendous spiritual power erupting out of him. What? Everyone was surprised. An icy sword shadow erupted with incomparable power, struck out directly, and tore the sword shadow into pieces immediately. The mighty power then turned into a strong breeze and dissipated. However, after tearing the sword shadow into pieces, the power of that sword shadow still persisted and turned into a light flying straight towards Jian Wushuang. What's this? Shockingly, Jian Wushuang swung his sword against it immediately. Clang! A violent power crashed over Jian Wushuang with a loud bang. He was forced to step back, each step heavy enough to crack the ground. When he came to a stop, he shook his stinging palms. Jian Wushuang looked up at Nangong Jie again with an extremely serious expression. Nangong Jie, I have looked down on you. I would have never thought that you would not only hide your comprehension of sword essence, but also your cultivation of spiritual power. Maybe only a few people knew you were at Profound Gold Core Realm in Dragon Palace. Profound Gold Core Realm. Right. This moment, the spiritual power of Nangong Jie had reached Profound Gold Core Realm. When the disciples of Dragon Palace on martial art practice field noticed his spiritual power, a stir was raised. Profound Gold Core Realm? Nangong Jie has reached Profound Gold Core Realm? A man who has reached Profound Gold Core Realm challenged a new guy who was at the level of Spiritual C to a duel. Nangong Jie might be going too far. The gazes of disciples of Dragon Palace looking at Nangong Jie suddenly changed. One should know that one has his own pride as a genius. Anyway, Jian Wushuang had just reached Spiritual C Realm. As a primordial gold core, Nangong Jie was just bullying. And now, Nangong Jie had revealed that his cultivation of spiritual power reached Profound Gold Core Realm. A man who has reached Profound Gold Core Realm challenged a warrior who was at the level of spiritual C, to a duel. It was far more than bullying. This was shameless. Nangong Jia, as a profound gold core realm, you challenged my bro to a duel? You are so shameless, so brazen. If I were you, I would hide my face in disgrace. Wang Yuan shouted from the sidelines. Huh. Nangong Jia looked around and said in his chilliest tone, the world has its law of the jungle, and the Dragon Palace has too. How would you fight a duel to win points if you don't even know how to hide your strength? Swordsman. Nangong Jia looked at Jian Wushuang. You, as a freshman entering Dragon Palace for less than 3 months, it's an honor to force me to this situation. I will still gladly accept your 12,000 points. Boom. Nangong Jia pushed off the ground, which cracked at once. With an ear-piercing rushing sound, Nangong Jia slashed with his sword. It was still formless swordsmanship. Under the outburst of spiritual power of profound gold core realm, the speed and power had both reached a brand new level. The sword light pierced the void and whistled. Its amazing speed and intense power were heart-stopping. Disciples of Dragon Palace held their breath as they watched this. Nangong Jia, do you think you can defeat me like this? Ridiculous. Jian Wushuang sneered. Although Nangong Jia's spiritual power was at profound gold core realm, he was still calm. Reincarnation sword skill. When Nangong Jia's swordsmanship swept through, Jian Wushuang engaged reincarnation sword skill. The vast sword essence of Earth was maximized in the meantime. Reincarnation sword skill, a defensive sword skill which could be exchanged for with 500 points. It could not be compared to formless sword wave. However, if it was properly used, its power could overcome the formless sword wave. Moreover, because of the low points needed for reincarnation sword skill and its outwardly simple technique compared to formless sword wave and formless swordsmanship, Jian Wushuang could master this sword skill perfectly. Jian Wushuang has completely mastered the reincarnation sword skill in the last 3 months, even reaching the peak. And now he used the reincarnation sword skill to its full potential. Clang, 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 clang. Continuous clanging sounded around the martial art practice field. The surrounding disciples of Dragon Palace were shocked to see this. How fast? How strong? This swordsmanship is so fast, so amazing. Look, the swordsman is being completely suppressed. He seems to be losing. That is not necessarily the case. Don't you see that the swordsman has resisted Nangong Jia's swordsmanship, even though he is being suppressed all the time? His defense is watertight. Right. He has mastered the reincarnation sword skill completely and put it to good use. It won't be easy for Nangong Jia to win. Lots of disciples started discussing in whispers. On the battlefield, sword flash struck at high speed and from multiple angles. Nangong Jia's swordsmanship, perception of sword essence, and cultivation of spiritual power of the profound gold core realm had reached perfection. The heart-palpitating sword flash generated an irresistible feeling among the surrounding disciples. But what about Jian Wushuang? The sword kept moving, dauntless. His swordsmanship seems simple, but resisted all the sword shadows perfectly. It was true that Nangong Jia's sword flash was powerful, and it had completely suppressed Jian Wushuang, who had no chance to strike back. Still, Jian Wushuang was resisting every attack from Nangong Jia. Well, although his cultivation of spiritual has reached profound gold core realm, and his power is much better than mine, I can still defend. When I use my reincarnation swordsmanship, I can weaken the power of his swordsmanship. Otherwise, even if I could block, its impact force would be enough to defeat me. But now he can dream about my defeat. Jian Wushuang's expression was cold. The most exquisite part of reincarnation sword skill is its ability to wear the opponent down, using the sword strokes to weaken the power gradually. Finally, the power from the attacks had no impact to him. This boy is so hard to deal with. Nangong Jie's expression became unsightly as his attacks were blocked by Jian Wushuang over and over again. Chapter 78. Chapter 78. Impudence. I cannot defeat him quickly even with my full strength. His defense is perfect and can even disperse force. Perhaps I could defeat him directly if my swordsmanship much faster than his. Nangong Jie said to himself. He needed a stronger and faster swordsmanship to defeat Jian Suhong, but he has already used his full strength. How can he make it faster? There is only one way to defeat him, though it's a bit disgraceful. However, even if it's shameful, if I win, I will receive 12,000 points. Nangong Jie's face turned grim. He had already made up his mind to defeat Jian Wushuang in the most unethical and dishonorable way. That way is through spiritual power consumption. Spiritual power is the source of power. The importance can be imagined. During the battle, spiritual power was constantly consumed, but it has a limit. Nangong Jie decided that he would compete against Jian Wushuang using the consumption of spiritual power. After all, he was in the primordial gold core realm and had reached the profound gold core realm. However, Jian Wushuang was only in the level of spiritual sea. There were 2 subrealms between them, including a true realm. Under normal circumstances, Nangong Jie should have much more spiritual power Jian Wushuang. Naturally, he should last longer during battle. Once Jian Wushuang's spiritual power runs out, he would win. Phew, 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 phew. The roar of swordsmanship continued. But as the battle continued, the disciples of Dragon Palace began to understand Nangong Jie's intention. How shameless Nangong Jie is. Wang Yuan gnashed his teeth. He's going too far. As someone in the profound gold core realm, he should stop and end it in a draw if he can't quickly defeat an opponent in the spiritual sea realm. That way, he would suffer less embarrassment. But now, he actually wants to rely on his advantage in spiritual power to compete with swordsmen. It's a disgrace. Even if he wins, I would despise him. It's so humiliating. He even makes me, an expert of the gold core realm, feel extreme shame. The disciples of Dragon Palace looked at Nangong Jie with disdain. Even the 2 who came with Nangong Jie looked at each other for a moment with complex feelings. They also thought Nangong Jie is being ignoble. However, considering that they had loaned their points to him, if he won, they would also benefit. So, they didn't say anything. Idiots. During the battle, Nangong Jie glanced at the surrounding disciples of Dragon Palace, sneering in his heart. It is disgraceful. So what? The winner takes all. I will even do despicable acts to win those 12,000 points. Lose-lose. Nangong Jie watched Jian Wushuang, paying attention to his aura of spiritual power, but his complexion quickly changed. What's the matter? This is impossible. It was unbelievable. Yes, he could not believe it. He has been fighting with me for so long, but his spiritual power is not weakening at all. Nangong Jie looked startled. As someone in the profound gold core realm, he has already consumed more than half of his spiritual power while fighting for so long. But what about Jian Wushuang? His aura was still grand, his swordsmanship was still sharp, and his spiritual power was still strong. There were no signs of him weakening. How is that possible? Nangong Jie couldn't believe what he was seeing. However, when Jian Wushuang saw the rich expression on Nangong Jie's face, the corner of his mouth lifted, turning into a cold smile. Spiritual power consumption. You want to defeat me. with only spiritual power consumption. Jian Wushuang really wanted to mock Nangong Jia at this moment. He practices the heavenly creation skill. Although it seemed that he was in spiritual sea realm, the spiritual sea realm for the heavenly creation skill is the ultimate spirit sea. What is the ultimate spirit sea? It is a vast sea of spiritual power. When he first broke through to the ultimate spirit sea, he had 10 times as much spiritual power as ordinary warriors in the spiritual sea realm. However, he kept practicing these last 3 months. Not only that, he had eaten and absorbed the effects of 21 first-class heavenly spirit pills. Now, he was at the second stage of the ultimate spirit sea, endless spiritual power. He had 100 times more than an ordinary warrior in spiritual sea realm, 100 times more spiritual power, and Nangong Jia, in the profound gold core realm, only had several times that of ordinary warriors in the spiritual sea realm. How dare he compete against Jian Wushuang using consumption of spiritual power? It was like a novice warrior in sword principle complimenting his swordsmanship is in front of a master of swordsmanship. It was stupid, just ridiculous. It's impossible. Nangong Jia's face had become extremely pale. He could suppress Jian Wushuang in a fight, but he couldn't win. Adding to that, his consumption of spiritual power was far more than Jian Wushuang's. Eventually, he would lose. Swordsman, stop. Can we end this in a tie? Nangong Jia said quickly. A tie. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help cursing. Nangong Jia, I knew you were shameless, but I did not expect you to be this shameless. It is already ridiculous for you, an expert in the profound gold core realm, to fight with me, someone in the spiritual sea realm. When you realized that you could not defeat me directly, you even tried to defeat me using the consumption of spiritual power. But that did not work. Now you know that your consumption is faster than mine, and you actually have the guts to say that you want to end this in a tie. Nangong Jia, be a man. I have never met someone who is as shameless as you. Jian Wushuang cursed him openly, with no mercy, while the surrounding disciples of Dragon Palace looked at Nangong Jia in disdain. At first, he did not want to end with a tie. Now that he was going to lose, he wanted to stop with a tie. He was treating everyone like they were fools. Bastard! Nangong Jia tensed up. Now, with more than 90% of his spiritual power gone, his lack of spiritual power led to a sharp reduction in the speed and power of his swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang, who had been suppressed by him, struck back at this moment. OM! His sword shadows were displayed, majestically using the sword essence of earth. Jian Wushuang was obviously still at his peak, and his sword continued to strike out. Nangong Jia had been completely defeated. Finally, a cold sword shadow swept out directly across Nangong Jia's arm, while Jian Wushuang used his foot to kick him. Nangong Jia flew back in an arc, like a parabola, eventually falling onto the ground. Nangong Jia lost. The whole martial arts practice field fell into silence. And at this moment, Jian Wushuang walked to Nangong Jia slowly, under everyone's gaze, looking down at him indifferently. You lost. 12,000 points. Pay up. Chapter 79. Chapter 79, Su Lai. On the martial arts practice field, the corner of Nangong Jia's mouth contained a trace of blood. After slowly standing up, his expression grew ferocious and was filled with resistance. Yes, he was not willing. He did not want to concede, even though he was defeated by Jian Wushuang after using his full power. However, no matter how unwilling he was, it was a fact that he lost to Jian Wushuang. He could not quibble. Ultimately, he could only tremble as he gave 12,000 points to Jian Wushuang. On the other side, The two disciples who had previously loaned points to Nangong Jia had a pale look. After seeing more than 12,000 points in his token, Jian Wushuang grinned and faced Nangong Jia again. Nangong Jia, I have some advice for you. Natural iniquity can be forgiven, but human iniquity cannot. Nangong Jia trembled physically and mentally. Suddenly, it's a good sentence. This rookie of the Dragon Palace is becoming more and more arrogant. A strong voice sounded out in the martial arts practice field, slowly followed by a red-robed man with a saber on his back. Everyone looked turned to face him at the same time. Su Lai. It is him. The tyrant, Su Lai. After seeing him, many of the disciples of Dragon Palace that were present couldn't help exhaling a breath of cold air. Obviously, they were in awe of this man. Su Lai, why is he here? Wang Yuan's expression instantly changed after seeing this person. Who is Su Lai? At this moment, Yang Zishuan, who was always silent, frowned and asked. He sensed a mighty pressure that he had only felt from Bai Cheng since the time he joined Dragon Palace 3 months ago. The tyrant Su Lai, a top genius among the disciples of Dragon Palace. Su Lai was the only one who could possibly be compared with Bai Cheng before second brother joined Dragon Palace, said Wang Yuan. Hearing this, Yang Zishuan's eyes could not help but squint. A warrior who is in the profound gold core realm was defeated by a rookie who has only been here for 3 months. Not only that, the rookie is only in the spiritual sea realm. Nangong Jia, you are definitely shameful enough, said the burly man, Su Lai, with a laugh. Nangong Jia had a pale look on his face. If these words were said by someone else, he would be furious. However, these words were spoken by Su Lai, who was also known as a tyrant. He was afraid to display even a little bit of a temper in front of Su Lai. Su Lai glanced at Nangong Jia, but he was too lazy to talk to him. Looking at Jian Wushuang, though, he said, "Little guy, your name is Swordsman, right?" "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded with a serious expression. When Su Lai appeared in front of him and looked at him, all the pores in Jian Wushuang's body were directly tied up. This feeling felt similar to being looked at by a fierce ancient beast. Jian Wushuang immediately understood that Su Lai's strength was terrifying. "I have heard of you. When you entered Dragon Palace 3 months ago, you only made it through the 4th level. But now, 3 months later, you should be able to make it through the 7th level with your comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. That speed is matchless in Dragon Palace. Such a genius. I can't help being interested in you. Why not fight with me?" Su Lai said casually. "Battle with you?" Jian Wushuang changed his countenance, but he immediately shook his head without any hesitation and said, "Sorry, I'm not interested." Jian Wushuang did not want to battle with Su Lai at all. The reason was simple. Su Lai's strength was terrifying. Although he never made a move and just stood in front of Jian Wushuang knew that he was not this man's opponent. It was hard to say whether or not he could even take one move from Su Lai. The gap in strength was incredible, and Jian Wushuang had no interest in being abused. "You are refusing me?" Su Lai's countenance became clouded, but he suddenly grinned and said, "I don't want to make a bet with you. I just want a pure fight with you. Your refusal, what good is it?" Boom! The floor under Su Lai's feet exploded instantly, and the figure of Su Lai rushed forwards. At first glance, it looked like a mass of hot flames was fiercely racing towards Jian Wushuang. Oh no! At the moment when Su Lai started moving, 2 figures also rushed out simultaneously from behind Jian Wushuang. Those 2 people, one was Yang Zishuan, and the other was Su Ro, who rarely spoke. As for Wang Yuan, he had only gone through the 4th level, so he was unable to help Jian Wushuang. Two traces of flowing light appeared simultaneously in front of Jian Wushuang. Yang Zishuan's eyes were cold, and his saber was already drawn. In Su Ro's hands there was a 2-meter-long, thick and heavy sword. Her slender figure raised the heavy sword and chopped out. "Ha! You want to stop me by yourselves." Su Lai laughed while clenching his 5 fingers. Then, a terrifying flame filled with the essence of raging fire was released. It was as if he could burn everything around it. Then, Su Lai used his fist to directly attack them. A violent force suddenly rushed towards them. Yang Zishuan was someone who had gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, and Su Ro herself had gone through the 7th level. As for Su Lai on the surface, his strength was equal to a warrior who went through the 7th level. Bang! Bang! 2 deep crashes sounded, and the figures of Yang Zishuan and Su Ro were both knocked backwards. They were knocked back forcefully. It was not because they moved backwards. The next moment, Su Lai struck out with his fist again. This fist smashed directly toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang quickly lifted his sword and executed the reincarnation sword skill with his full power in an attempt to parry it. Bang! A terrifying power arrived. The force was more than Jian Wushuang could parry, even with the reincarnation sword skill. Subsequently, the figure of Jian Wushuang was sent flying back under that terrifying force, smashing onto the ground behind him. Silence! Everyone at the martial arts practice field looked startled. The only emerging voice was from disciples of Dragon Palace swallowing their saliva. Fearsome! Similar words echoed in everyone's mind. It was indeed terrifying. In only a flash, Jian Wushuang, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro were defeated without any room to even struggle. So strong! Jian Wushuang slowly rose to his feet and wiped the blood from his lips, but there was a trace of shock in his eyes. His cultivation of spiritual power absolutely reaches the exceptional gold core realm. Not only that, his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is far higher than mine. Jian Wushuang thought secretly, "I have gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, but based on his attack, I know that his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is definitely higher than mine." Yang Zishuan had a serious look on his face. "You too." Su Lai clasped his hands and looked at Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan. "A word of advice, as rookies, you better keep a low profile. Dragon Palace is not as simple as you think. What you are seeing now is only the tip of the iceberg." Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were both startled. What they had seen of Dragon Palace so far was only the tip of the iceberg. Su Lai was too lazy to explain anymore, and he wanted to leave. But after only taking 2 steps, he stopped suddenly. He looked to the side, smiled, and said, "Bai Cheng, you have been watching for so long. Have you seen enough? If you are itching for a fight, I don't mind playing with you." Chapter 80. Chapter 80. The Earthly Dragon List. Bai Cheng. It's Bai Cheng. Following Su Lai's gaze, the crowd immediately saw a white-haired man dressed in a white garment on the edge of the martial arts practice field. White hair like snow. He, Bai Cheng, was the top person of Dragon Palace. As everyone was looking at Su Lai, no one noticed Bai Cheng's arrival. "Su Lai, I hope I didn't upset you." Bai Cheng squinted at Su Lai. "You don't provoke me, but just looking at you puts me in a bad mood. What can you do? If you feel bad, we can play a game and take a bet." Su Lai sneered and gave a bold look. Bai Cheng's countenance was clouded, and he shouted in a low voice, "You don't get it. One day sooner or later, I'll beat you down completely." Haha, I'm waiting, but before this, you can think of ways to climb up the earthly dragon list. Su Lai smiled, and then left. Humps. Bai Cheng gave a cold grunt, and then left. This scene made many disciples of Dragon Palace on the martial arts practice field look confused. It's said that Bai Cheng is the strongest disciple in the Dragon Palace. But why do I perceive that Bai Cheng seemed to be afraid of Su Lai? I don't think so. I think that Bai Cheng doesn't dare to battle with Su Lai. What on earth happened? Those disciples of Dragon Palace were confounded, as were Jian Wushuang and Yang Zhaixuan. Soon after, people on the martial arts practice field began to disperse. In the Dragon Palace, Palace Master White, appearing in front of Palace Master White, Su Lai said with great respect, but not the previous superciliousness on the martial arts practice field, "I have given swordsman and Yang Zhaixuan some lessons based on your order." "Okay, I have seen it. Good job." Palace Master White nodded slightly and said, "Swordsman and Yang Zhaixuan have high talent, especially swordsman. 3 months ago, he merely was at the 4th level, but now he is qualified to go through the 7th level. In the history of our Dragon Palace, only several people could match with him in terms of the speed of his advancement. I have great hopes for him. However, we should give them some obstacles. After all, they are still rookies." Hearing this, Su Lai could not help pursing his lips. It was known that he was similar to Jian Wushuang when he joined the Dragon Palace. He did not put other disciples of Dragon Palace in his eyes. But Palace Master White also asked a powerhouse to let him face some obstacles. He was badly defeated in that battle. He became more humble after that. In the manor, Jian Wushuang and another 3 people were drinking, sitting at a stone desk. "Ha! I'm very happy looking at the defeated countenance of Nangong Jia." Wang Yuan sneered. He's arrogant and shameless. He is only at the level of the profound Gold Core realm, but he still wanted to vanquish Third Brother by the consumption of the spiritual power. What a foolish man." Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and said, "Nangong Jia is not important, seeing how he's not a threat in the future. As for Su Lai, his strength still shocks me until now." "So do I." Yang Zhaixuan also nodded. "I thought that the people who could be qualified to be my rival in the whole Dragon Palace was only Bai Cheng. However, it's not the case now. Dragon Palace is not as simple as it appears," Su Ro on the side said with low voice. "I have gone through the 7th level, so I know something. Though there are only 16 people that have passed through the 7th level, there are many others who have the strength to go through it. But they don't do it, so nobody knows them. I conservatively estimate that there are at least 30 people that have the strength to pass through the 7th level, or even the 8th level. On the surface, there is only Bai Cheng and your second brother going through the 8th level. But in fact, there are at least 5 people who can complete it. Su Lai is one of those 5. Su Lai has reached the level of exceptional Gold Core realm a long time ago. So Bai Cheng would be vanquished if they battle, although Bai Cheng's comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is higher than his. So that's what it is. It could be the reason that Bai Cheng seems not to dare to battle Su Lai." Yang Zhaixuan nodded secretly. We all looked down on Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. "By the way, what is the earthly dragon list Su Lai mentioned?" "I know it," Wang Yuan said this time. Earthly Dragon List, set by the Golden Dragon Palace, lists the 100 strongest powerhouses of all experts of the Gold Core realm in the Tianzong dynasty. If someone can be listed on Earthly Dragon List, he would stand at the top of pyramid of all those of the Gold Core. All of them could vanquish those at the primordial Gold Core. The higher rank, the greater the strength. It's said that the experts ranked at the top 10 of Earthly Dragon list could match or even kill warriors at the level of the Yinyang Void Realm. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Match, even kill the warriors of the Yinyang Void Realm. It should be known that the gap between Spiritual Sea Realm and Gold Core was huge, and the gap between Gold Core and Yinyang Void Realm was even larger. A warrior of Primordial Golden Pill Realm was like a monster if he could match with a warrior of Yinyang Void Realm. It would be legendary if a warrior of Primordial Gold Core killed a warrior of Yinyang Void Realm. It's true. Each powerhouse listed in the top 10 of the Earthly Dragon list has this ability. Wang Yuan continued saying, "By the way, the Earth Dragon list seems to be at the secret pavilion. If you are curious about it, you can swap points for it and read it carefully." Okay. Jian Wushuang left toward the secret pavilion without any hesitation. Hearing this, he was filled with ambition to rise on the Earthly Dragon list. Soon after, Jian Wushuang was back. He swapped 100 points for an Earthly Dragon list in the secret pavilion. Although it was called a list, it was a thick book. Jian Wushuang opened the first page. Tianzong Dynasty is vast and is filled with talented heroes. Over time, old people are replaced by new people. Lots of heroes die and are forgotten. Our Golden Dragon Palace compiles the Earthly Dragon list and the Heavenly Dragon list by recording the heroes in the Tianzong Dynasty. Earth Dragon list record the 100 strongest of the Primordial Golden Pill Realm in our Tianzong Dynasty. Jian Wushuang was fascinated. There is not only the Earth Dragon list, but also the Heavenly Dragon list. The Earthly Dragon list records the experts of the Primordial Gold Core, and the Heavenly Dragon list should record those of the Yinyang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang kept reading. The 100 superiors of the Golden Pill Realm on the Earthly Dragon list all had outstanding battle results, and their strength was recognized by many sects. If you want to be listed on the Earth Dragon list, you need great battle results. Reading the first page, Jian Wushuang continued reading the second page right now. There were some introductions of the 100 powerhouses listed on the Earth Dragon list on the second page. Chapter 81. Chapter 81. Mission assigned. Ranked the 100th on the Earthly Dragon list, Fire Fairy was a solo powerhouse who had achieved the peak of Fulfillment Realm of Jindan. She is eccentric and has many enemies. She also excels at marksmanship and has a comprehension of raging fire. A half-year ago, by herself, she killed 5 opponents who had achieved the exceptional Gold Core Realm at Sunset Ridge over the body of a spiritual beast. 2 months ago, she beat Mount, the former 100th expert on the list, and replaced him. The 99th on the list is Luo Ao. Jian Wushuang carefully read the introductions and combat abilities of every expert. The person who was 94th on the list was surprisingly the tyrant Su Lai. Su Lai, Jian Wushuang said with surprise. Yang Zixuan, Wang Yuan, and Su Ro beside him came closer. Su Lai, a bad-tempered disciple of Dragon Palace, was known for his aggression and excellence at exceptional Gold Core Realm, Raging Fire, and Brutal Fist position. He once fought against 13 Gold Core warriors, among which 8 achieved the exceptional Gold Core Realm, and killed 11 of them, including 7 of the 8. 2 survived, and he only had a minor injury. What Jian Wushuang saw really shocked him. Su Lai by himself could unexpectedly kill 11 of the 13 Primordial Gold Core with only 2 surviving and escaping. It was no wonder that there was a saying that any powerhouse on the list is able to beat a large group of people of exceptional Gold Core Realm. Su Lai is really tough, said Yang Zixuan seriously. It made sense that Bai Cheng dare not fight him, said Wang Yuan. Jian Wushuang kept reading. The list revealed all the names of powerhouses and their achievements. Jian Wushuang, soon read the top 5. The person who ranked the 5th was barbarian King Qing, a disciple of Dragon Palace, who achieved the peak of exceptional gold core realm. The 4th was Feng Yuqian, who belonged to Gladiator Arena, who achieved the peak of exceptional gold core realm. The 3rd was Mu Yingying, a member of the Mu clan, who achieved the peak of exceptional gold core realm. The 2nd was by Lycan, a disciple of Dragon Palace, who achieved the peak of exceptional gold core realm. The 1st was Shui Yun from Bloodfeather Tower, who achieved the profound gold core realm. Shui Yun from Bloodfeather Tower, said Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. How could Shui Yun rank first on the list by merely achieving the profound gold core realm? Yang Zhaixuan and other people wondered. Check his combat achievements. Jian Wushuang also saw his achievements. The list read, a year ago, by Lycan, the 2nd on the list, and barbarian King Qing, the 5th joined hands to fight Shui Yun outside the imperial palace, and this only ended in a draw. The description of this was simple, but shocked all of them, because the top 5 on the list could even contend against Yin Yang Void Realm, and yet the 2 of them against him could only end in a draw. Meanwhile, Shui Yun had merely achieved profound gold core realm. I now understand why Dragon Palace is reputed as the cultivation sanctuary, said Yang Zhaixuan suddenly. Exactly, nodded Jian Wushuang. 16 of 100 primordial gold core on Earthly Dragon list were disciples of Dragon Palace, and there were even 3 in the top 10. Jian Wushuang could not help but admire how outstanding Dragon Palace was. Among 100 people on the list, there were 16 of disciples of Dragon Palace, 9 from Gladiator Arena, and 3 from Bloodfeather Tower. Although there were 3 people from Bloodfeather Tower on the list, this did not mean that these experts were inferior to those from Gladiator Arena. As the tower was an assassin's organization, members in it seldom exposed their true abilities, and nobody knew if they were able to be placed on the list. Apart from the 3 hegemons, the 7 ancient clans of Tianzong dynasty were home to various talents, and more than 10 of them were named on the list. There were also many solitary experts. Among 100 experts on the list were nearly 40 solitary experts. I have never seen any disciple of Dragon Palace named on the list with the exception of Su Lai, said Jian Wushuang. Me neither, said Wang Yuan. As those disciples left the palace long time ago, it is rare to meet them. The palace, however, held regular annual meetings during which many strong disciples on or off the list would be back, said Su Ro. Really? Asked Jian Wushuang with a smile. Right about that time, whoosh, a person in a white robe appeared in the manor. Jian Wushuang and his companions hurried to stand up. Palace Master White. The 4 people gave a salute to him. Swordsman and Yang Zhaixuan, an expert in the world, could only emerge from countless trials and tribulations. As we know this, we assign missions to our disciples at intervals to train them, said Palace Master White with his hands behind his back. You 2 have been here for 3 months, and it is time to receive your first mission. Saying that, the master produced 2 beams of light with his hands. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zhaixuan took them and saw 3 minor scrolls. As you 2 are at different stages, one in the spiritual sea realm and the other at primordial gold core, I have assigned you 2 different missions. But both of your missions have 3 stages which are already on your scrolls. You'd only see the next one after completing the former one. The master said. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang directly opened up the first scroll. My first objective is to become a 2-clawed golden dragon guard by finishing the guard mission. Perform it in the innumerable, huge mountains. The reward for completion of the task was to get 2,000 points. Jian Wushuang's complexion immediately turned strange as soon as he saw the introduction of the task. As there were many two-clawed golden dragon guard tasks, including those of any golden dragon subsidiary palace of Tianzong dynasty, but the master appointed me to complete the mission in the innumerable huge mountains. After that, Jian Wushuang came to understand that his second and third assignments were likely to be finished in the mountains. Tasks are now assigned, and you may set off as soon as possible. You can only return to the palace after completion of the assignments," said the master with a light smile and left. Chapter 82. Chapter 82. Meeting with Yi Rufeng again. "My brothers, what is your task?" Wang Yuan immediately came close as soon as Palace Master White left. "Damn it, two-clawed golden dragon guard," Wang Yuan screamed after he saw Jian Wushuang's task. "Dragon Palace is so cruel. They made you complete the task of a two-clawed golden dragon guard when you were just a warrior of spiritual sea." Jian Wushuang smiled awkwardly. There had always been a huge risk in Golden Dragon Guard's mission. Normally, one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard missions were completed by a warrior reaching the peak of exceptional spiritual sea realm, while two-clawed Golden Dragon Guard missions would be finished by Primordial Gold Core, the peak of initial Gold Core realm, or even the profound Gold Core realm. It was a joke that a spiritual sea realm was even sent to complete a two-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission. Jian Wushuang, however, was totally different from other ordinary warriors because he was a disciple of Dragon Palace. He showed how outstanding he was by beating Nangong Jia of Profound Gold Core Realm. It seems ridiculous to ask a warrior of level of spiritual sea to achieve that, but actually, it is not too difficult for me. The real arduous one, I thought, was at the second and the third stage because I don't even know what they are, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. He was more curious about the tasks at the last two stages. He had scrolls in his hands, but he did not open them in a hurry. "Brother, your first stage mission was simple," said Jian Wushuang when he had a glance at the scroll in Yang Zishuan's hands. Yang Zishuan's first mission was to kill a warrior of profound Gold Core realm who could be killed easily by him, although the warrior was good. "When do you plan to set off?" said Yang Zishuan. "I am going to visit Secret Pavilion and then leave directly. What about you?" said Jian Wushuang. "I will go now," answered Yang Zishuan. "Good luck," said Jian Wushuang, and left for Secret Pavilion immediately. With lots of points, he purchased as many elixir pills as possible. First-class Heavenly Spirit pill was worth 20 points, and he surprisingly spent 1,000 points buying 50. He had no alternative. Other people may reach the peak of exceptional spiritual sea realm from initial spiritual sea realm with the use of 10 pills. Jian Wushuang, however, was different because he needed too much spiritual power to support his ultimate spiritual sea. It was questionable whether he would be able to reach stage 3 from stage 2 of ultimate spirit sea. What's more, he also spent 1,200 points buying pills for treatment. After his preparation, he set off. The innumerable, huge mountains contained hundreds of mountains. The vast space and dangers in it were on another level compared to the dark forest. Moonheart City was located at the foot of great mountains. Whoosh! A huge figure dived sharply in the vast place outside the city. That was a big spiritual beast, griffin, with huge wings carrying a man on its back. Jian Wushuang directly jumped off its back and said, "Thank you," to Golden Armored Sergeant. Nodded with a smile, the sergeant left riding the griffin. As the city was very far away from Dragon Palace, it could take him over half a month. But now he just spent less than half a day by taking the beast. Of course, he paid 100 points for that. After entering the city, Jian Wushuang went straight to the crowded and noisy Golden Dragon subsidiary palace. When he came to the counter, an old man behind the counter asked, "Can I help you?" Jian Wushuang took out the pledge as a disciple of Dragon Palace, which surprised the man. The man immediately said, "Master, this way, please." Saying that, the man led him to the cellar. There was a man there who seemed cold. By coincidence, he knew Jian Wushuang. "Your Excellency Yi," said Jian Wushuang with surprise. "Swordsman, I didn't expect that you were here," said the cold man with a smile when he saw Jian Wushuang. The man's name was Yi Rafeng, the Golden Dragon ambassador, who had actually brought him to Dragon Palace. "His Excellency, you know each other?" said the old man in confusion. "We can handle this, you can go," said Yi Rafeng. "Yes, Your Excellency," the elder immediately retreated. "Ha ha, nice to see you again, brother," said Yi Rafeng with a big laugh. "What a coincidence," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. "Come on and have a seat." After sitting on chairs in the cellar, Yi Rafeng asked, "Brother, you were supposed to cultivate in the palace. Why did you come here? Did you get mission?" As a Golden Dragon ambassador of Golden Dragon Palace, Yi Rafeng knew about the Dragon Palace and understood that their disciples often received assignments from it. "I am on my mission as a two-clawed Golden Dragon Guard, and the destination was innumerable huge mountains." Jian Wushuang said, "What? You are here for a two-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission?" Yi Rafeng asked in shock. "Yes, what's wrong?" asked Jian Wushuang with confusion, and he did not know why Yi Rafeng overreacted. "Ha, that's great. To tell you the truth, we actually were going to ask you to do us a favor," said Yi Rafeng with a joy. "What is that?" asked Jian Wushuang with a smile. He could enter the palace just because of Yi Rafeng's recommendation, and he owed him. So Jian Wushuang would not decline it if it was not to the death. "Follow me," said Yi Rafeng, and took him to another hidden cellar of the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace. There was a girl in purple practicing swordsmanship. Phew, 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 phew. The sword shadow was actually not bad. "She is?" asked Jian Wushuang, looking at the girl. Although the girl was young, she, with exquisite swordsmanship, reached level of primordial gold core. What most impressed people was that the girl unexpectedly comprehended the level of water drop essence, although she was not yet high in it. Chapter 83. Chapter 83. Yi Mei. The purple-clothed lady quickly finished practicing her swordsmanship, finally placing her sword back into its sheath. "Mayor, come here." Yi Rafeng lightly beckoned her. The purple-clothed lady immediately ran to Yi Rafeng and said, "Father, father." Jian Wushuang was shocked. "Brother swordsman, this is my daughter, Yi Mei." Today she accepted a two-clawed Gold Dragon Guard mission in the Gold Dragon subsidiary palace. Yi Rafeng said, "Oh." Jian Wushuang smiled silently. He immediately understood what Yi Rafeng wanted to request from him. "Mayor, this is Swordsman, a brother of mine. Since you insist on doing the mission, I asked Swordsman to accompany you. That way, he can take care of you on the way," Yi Rafeng said to Yi Mei. "Him." Yi Mei looked at Jian Wushuang coldly and said, "He is just a warrior in the spiritual sea realm. He has not even reached the primordial gold core realm. It's not him taking care of me, but me taking care of him." An expert of the gold core realm possessed a distinctive aura, so one glance was enough for Yi Mei to know that Jian Wushuang did not have a gold core. "You don't understand. Brother Swordsman is a disciple of Dragon Palace," Yi Rafeng replied. "A disciple of Dragon Palace?" Yi Mei was a little bit shocked and gave Jian Wushuang another glance. But what followed was her sneering again before saying, "So what? Even if he has a lot of talent, he is still only in the spiritual sea realm. If he uses his full strength, he is only the equal of someone in the initial gold core realm. How is he qualified to take care of me? No sooner than the words had been uttered by Yi Mei, she directly left the secret chamber, not even speaking one more word to Jian Wushuang. And Yi Rufeng. Yi Rufeng looked a little bit awkward, and then he quickly apologized. Sorry, brother swordsman. My daughter was very impolite. It's okay. Jian Wushuang shook his head and replied. He was not mad at all. Mayor is such a stubborn and arrogant girl. But it's my fault, Yi Rufeng said, then lightly sighed. Her mother died when Mayor was a child. Being her father and a golden dragon messenger, I spent most of my time dealing with public affairs. Because of that, I failed in taking care of her well. Over the years, she has taken care of herself on her own. I guess that helped create her current personality. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then asked, Ambassador Yi, your purpose in coming was just to help her with the mission? Yes. Yi Rufeng continued, Mayor is too arrogant. She is anxious to become a two-clawed gold dragon guard, but she only achieved the primordial gold core realm half a month ago. What's more, the location for the mission is the innumerable huge mountains, which is extremely dangerous on the inside. Considering she could have an accident, I tried to stop her, but she would not listen to me. However, at that time, you arrived. Yi Rufeng looked at Jian Wushuang and pleaded, Brother swordsman, since you are going to the innumerable huge mountains for the same mission, I want you to do me a favor, and with Mayor, to watch out for her on the way. Okay, no problem. Jian Wushuang agreed, without hesitation. Haha, that is great. I am relieved that I can leave her to you, Yi Rufeng said with a smile. He knew Jian Wushuang's strength well. He could easily kill experts in the initial gold core realm even before he was a disciple of Dragon Palace. Now, he had spent time in a holy place for cultivators like Dragon Palace for 3 months, so his strength should be much greater than before. The next day, outside Moonheart City, the 8 people who accepted the two-clawed gold dragon guard mission had all arrived. Among them, only Jian Wushuang was in the spiritual sea realm. So, naturally he stood out from the crowd. Why is there a warrior in the spiritual sea realm here? Who brought him here? Taking a two-clawed gold dragon guard mission with someone in the spiritual sea realm. Is this a joke? Several eyes that were as sharp as a blade glared at Jian Wushuang. A few of them even shouted at him. It was common knowledge that two-clawed gold dragon guard missions were extremely risky. Even if they were all in the primordial gold core realm, the mission would still be quite a challenge. Not to mention now, with someone in the spiritual sea realm dragging them down. Hey boy, who allowed you to take this task? Get out of here. A heavily built man with whiskers howled angrily. Jian Wushuang gave the man a glance and said, Idiot! Why can't warriors in the spiritual sea realm accept a two-clawed gold dragon guard mission? Boy, what are you talking about? The whiskered man shouted in rage. All right, everybody shut up. A yell was heard coming from a black-robed man. The black-robed man was the only two-clawed gold dragon guard among the 8 people who were present. He was also the initiator of this mission, while the remaining 7 were just one-clawed golden dragon guards. Among the 8, there were obvious disparities in strength. 2 had achieved the profound gold core realm, including the black-robed man. 1 was a warrior in the spiritual sea realm, which was Jian Wushuang. The other 6 were all in the initial gold core realm. Boy, no matter how you got the two-clawed gold dragon guard mission, I have to inform you that it's not a mission that just anyone can easily accomplish. Also, opportunism will not work on this mission. The black-robed man stared at Jian Wushuang and rumbled. In addition, this mission was initiated by me. So I can tell you guys clearly, although you 7 accepted the mission simultaneously, Only 5 at most can accomplish the task. That is to say, 2 of you are doomed to fail this mission. And you will have to rely on your own strength to decide if you can be one of those 5 who accomplish the task. Hearing this, everybody present looked serious, except for Jian Wushuang. Did you hear that, boy? Only 5 can accomplish the task. You are only at the spiritual sea realm. Do you think you can accomplish the mission? How ridiculous! The heavily built man, with whiskers, shouted and sneered. It's not something you get to decide, Jian Wushuang replied, without even giving him a glance. What an arrogant boy. Just wait, you will have your chance to be arrogant once the mission begins, the whiskery man said coldly. If everybody is ready, then let's go. No sooner than the black-robed man uttered this, the 8 warriors left for the innumerable huge mountains. On the way, the purple-clothed lady, Yimei, walked up to Jian Wushuang. Didn't I tell you I don't need anyone to take care of me? Yimei whispered. I owe your father a favor. What's more, I am also taking this mission, so I just have to watch out for you at my convenience, Jian Wushuang replied. With only your strength, you should give priority to your own safety, since I don't want you to run to me once you are in danger, Yimei said, then sneered. Don't worry. If I was in danger, then you would have already died long before that, Jian Wushuang said. Hearing what Jian Wushuang said, Yimei half closed her eyes. Her dislike for Jian Wushuang grew stronger. I cannot believe that the legendary disciples in Dragon Palace are as arrogant as you. Having finished her words, Yimei quickened her pace and glided ahead of Jian Wushuang. Chapter 84. Chapter 84. Innumerable huge mountains. Enormous forests and numerous spirit beasts were spread throughout the innumerable huge mountains, and apparently these spiritual beasts were much stronger than those in the dark forest. Likewise, the innumerable huge mountains are much more dangerous than the dark forest. A sudden, loud thump disturbed the tranquility of the forest. Pung! Following that, a human could be heard laughing before he said, "Ha! Just a spiritual beast in the initial gold core realm. You were doomed the second you met me. Taishan, don't waste your time. Let's keep going." A black-robed man, the leader, said in a low voice. "I'm coming," said Taishan, a strong man with a big mustache, laughing while holding a spirit beast core in his hand. Every spirit beast in the gold core realm has beast core that is very valuable. It had been 2 days since the 8 of them had entered the innumerable huge mountains, so they knew very little about each other, but they at least knew each other's names. The 2 men leading them were strongest, having reached the profound gold core realm. The black-robed man was known as Ba Yen. As for the other, he was called Taishan. He was a burly man with a big mustache who liked to argue with Jian Wushuang. The 8 continued to move forward, deeper into the innumerable huge mountains. But a short while later, they suddenly halted on a treetop. "What is it?" They stood on the treetop and looked down. There were many dead bodies laying parallel to each other, spread out on the ground. "Let's check the area," said Ba Yen. Following his words, everyone went down to the ground, carefully checking the bodies. Jian Wushuang also approached one of the dead bodies. "This is a sword scar?" Seeing the deadly scar on the neck of the dead body, Jian Wushuang became alert. Apparently, the scar was not caused by a spirit beast, but a sword. Thus, Jian Wushuang looked around and noticed that they all died the same way. Nothing but a sword scar was found on each one of them. They were killed in one move without a chance to fight back. Whoever did this was much stronger than them, Jian Wushuang said with a dark expression. These people... Inman also looked while feeling overwhelmed. They were killed by a human hand, and probably all by the same one. Jian Wushuang said. Human. Yi Mei changed her look all of a sudden. They have not been dead for long, which means that the killers might still be in the area. Jian Wushuang checked the bloodstains on the dead bodies once again. It was obvious that they were killed just minutes ago because the bloodstains were not dry yet. Besides that, there were so many spirit beasts in innumerable huge mountains. If they had been dead for long, their bodies should have been eaten by those spirit beasts already, in which case they would no longer be completely intact. All of you need to be careful. Spirit beasts are not the most dangerous threat here. Other humans can be even more dangerous, Ba Yan said with a serious look. Everyone nodded. They all knew that human beings are more dangerous than spirit beasts, since this was not the first time that they had accepted a mission from the Golden Dragon Guard. Captain Ba Yan, you are being too paranoid. Look at the people who were killed. Only 4 of them reached the initial Gold Core realm, while the rest were merely in the spiritual sea realm. Now, look at our group. We are much stronger than them, aren't we? They won't have the guts to mess with us, said Taishan in a disapproving tone. Just be careful. Anyway, Ba Yan said, let's keep going. Thus, the 8 continued their journey. Finally, half a day later, they arrived at the destination. In front of them was a thick mountain forest. All right, now I can tell you what the specific mission is. Ba Yan looked at the 7 people and said seriously, in the forest in front of us, there are 2 blue-eyed beasts with golden horns. I accidentally saw them while passing through here previously. The blue-eyed beast with golden horns has a coarse appearance. Both its skin and bones are excellent materials for making weapons, not to mention the golden horns. On top of that, its core is also quite valuable. Its whole body is a treasure. That's why I set up the mission at the Golden Dragon Palace. All you need to do is help me kill the 2 beasts. Everyone became alert. A blue-eyed beast with golden horns. How many gold horns do they have? Someone quickly asked. 4 blue-eyed beasts with golden horns. The more horns they have, the more powerful they are. One has 3 golden horns, and the other has 2, so they are absolutely within our ability. As for the requirement for completing the mission, that would be obtaining a golden horn. However, there are only 5 golden horns altogether. After hearing that, all 7 of them had a strange look on their faces. The blue-eyed beast with 3 golden horns is the most powerful among spirit beasts in the profound Gold Core realm. Normal warriors in the profound Gold Core realm cannot match up to it at all. By comparison, the one with 2 horns is less powerful, but it could still fight on even terms with a human in the profound Gold Core realm. With their current group, it would be easy to deal with the 2 blue-eyed beasts with golden horns. There was only one problem. 7 people accepted the mission, but there were not enough horns for everyone to complete the mission. 7 people wanted to obtain the 5 golden horns, which meant 2 of them were doomed to fail this mission. As for who would finish and who fail, Ba Yan didn't say a word because everyone understood it would depend on how capable they were. Although the 2 clawed missions are not as cruel as the 1 clawed missions, it is still full of danger. 7 people and 5 golden horn. Eventually, there will be a deadly struggle to decide who succeeds. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. They are in the same forest, but the forest is big, and they don't always stay together. However, once one of them is in danger, the other will immediately come. So we have to split up. Ba Yan began to make the arrangements. Everyone, listen up. Taishan, Wang Chong, Lin Yu, and I will deal with the 3-horned beast. The rest of you, Ba Yan looked at the other 4 and said, you 4 are not as powerful, but you can still deal with the 2-horned beast. After you finish, you are free to decide who gets the horns. What do you say? Okay, not a problem, Taishan said and smiled. I agree. Wang Chong and Lin Yu also nodded. Tai Shan, Wang Chong and Lin Yu agreed without any hesitation, because they knew they can finish the mission by killing the blue-eyed beast with 3 golden horns and get 3 golden horns and distribute them evenly. But the rest 4 of them didn't look well except Jian Wushuang, because they knew that only 2 golden horns would be gained after killing the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, which means that 2 of them are doomed to fail this mission. They are reluctant to do this, but they have to. After all, they are not powerful enough in terms of their cultivation of spiritual power. Since you all agreed, it's settled then. Here we go, Baya said, and the 8 soon divided into 2 groups, moving toward the forest. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. The Accident. The 4, including Jian Wushuang, hastily and quietly went ahead in the forest. Boom! A huge roar could be heard nearby, with a bright sound of animals. They have launched their attack, proclaimed Yi Mei. We need to find the 2-horned beast quickly and begin our attack as well, the indigo-robed man said. You don't need to find it because it is running towards us, Jian Wushuang said immediately. The other 3, including Yi Mei, had no time to figure out what was happening because the humongous 2-horned rhino appeared in front of them while knocking down rows of trees. The blue-eyed rhino with 2 horns. They were shocked. Kill it! Without hesitation. All 4 of them began releasing their spiritual power, after which they launched their attacks. Among the 4 warriors, the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man quickly displayed their strength. With one using an axe while the other used a long spear, they launch a powerful attack toward the incoming blue-eyed rhino. Jian Wushuang also immediately launched an attack with his sword, releasing power equivalent to the initial gold core realm. Among them, Yi Mei seemed to be the strongest. Swish! As she attacked, a streak of sword shadow using water-drop sword essence slashed towards the blue-eyed rhino. Before landing on its body, the sword shadow split into 3 dazzling streaks of sword light. Impressive swordsmanship, the indigo-robed man exclaimed. Jian Wushuang frowned and shook his head. Her swordsmanship is good, but she is too naive and hasty. Jian Wushuang understood clearly killing the blue-eyed rhino was not a problem. The real issue was the fight over the 2 horns. However, since Yi Mei showed her strength already, the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man would be cautious around Yi Mei. Jian Wushuang noticed that the indigo-robed man seemed to be shocked by Yi Mei. In fact, both of them had a weird look in their eyes. Jian Wushuang immediately knew that as soon as the blue-eyed rhino was dead, both men would work together and launch a sneak attack on Yi Mei for the sake of acquiring the horns. Clang! 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 Although the attack landed on the blue-eyed rhino's body, only 3 white marks were left behind on its hard shell. The shell is too hard. Aim for the stomach. It should be softer, and it's not protected by the shell. Jian Wushuang shouted, I do not need your advice. Yi Mei glanced at him before launching an attack towards the blue-eyed rhino's belly. Howl! As the blue-eyed rhino roared, it stomped on the ground with its hooves, causing the ground to tremble. Then it lowered its head, pointing the 2 horns at Yi Mei, and attacked. It charged straight towards Yi Mei with its golden horns. But it was so big and awkward, Yi Mei easily moved around it and let it pass. Kill it quickly. It's trying to run away. The indigo-robed man was attacking as he exclaimed happily. Although the blue-eyed rhino had great defense, it was still just a beast. Jian Wushuang and the others worked together to attack it. In particular, Yi Mei aggressively attacked the beast's belly. As a result, the blue-eyed rhino had already reached its limit. It is going to die. Yi Mei had a delighted look on her face, but she still felt contempt towards Jian Wushuang. She had played the biggest part in killing this blue-eyed rhino. Of course, the other three did work together and assist her, but Jian Wushuang only helped to prevent the beast from escaping, so it wasn't odd that she felt contempt towards him. With this level of strength, you thought you could help me? Ye may thought. But at this moment, a violently rampaging spiritual power appeared as a 2-meter-tall figure jumped out of the forest. Not good. Another beast. It's a Herculean demonic monkey. Profound gold core realm. Yi Mei and the indigo-robed man were shocked when it appeared, causing their expressions to become slightly pale. Even a normal Herculean demonic monkey is powerful, let alone this one, which is in the profound gold core realm. The Herculean demonic monkey in the profound gold core realm was stronger than them, since they were in the initial gold core realm. This is a catastrophe. Yi Mei's face turned pale. You three should finish killing the blue-eyed rhino. I will deal with the Herculean demonic monkey, Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. When Yi Mei looked towards Jian Wushuang, he had already rushed towards the Herculean demonic monkey. A Herculean demonic monkey at the profound gold core realm. Jian Wushuang smiled, releasing a strong spiritual power that surpassed the spiritual sea realm. At the same time, a massive amount of earth sword essence began to fill the area, the seventh move of the formless sword wave. As he shouted, his triple-kill sword moved to attack the beast. Countless sword shadows gathered together to form an immensely heavy mountain, which began descending towards Herculean demonic monkey. Damn humans! The Herculean demonic monkey's eyes turned red as it launched an attack that seemed to be able to shatter heaven and earth. Yi Mei and the indigo-robed man were shocked when they saw this. That guy, does he want to die? With his strength, he shouldn't even be able to defend against a Herculean demonic monkey in the profound gold core realm. Yet, he dared to attack it head-on. He must want to die. Stupid. Yi Mei cursed him. Herculean demonic monkeys were known for their strength. Even if a warrior in the same realm was fighting with it, they would be careful and would avoid facing its strength head-on power, let alone Jian Wushuang, who was only in the spiritual sea realm. He must be crazy. Yi Mei and the indigo-robed man thought Jian Wushuang had lost his mind. What happened next surprised all three of them. Boom. When they saw what happened, they were shocked by Jian Wushuang. The beast, which reached the profound gold core realm, flew out like a bullet, smashing into a tree that was more than 10 meters behind it. Boom! The tree, unable to withstand the impact from the Herculean demonic monkey, was smashed to pieces. Chapter 86. Chapter 86. Jian Wushuang's strength. How could that be? The indigo-robed man eyes almost fell out their sockets. This is impossible. The other purple-haired, middle-aged man was also completely shocked. Is this the real strength of the disciples of Dragon Palace? Yi Mei also had unprecedented shock in her eyes. It was an unstoppable force versus an immovable object when a warrior at the level of spiritual sea confronted the Herculean demonic monkey with profound gold core realm. As a result, would the Herculean demonic monkey decide to escape? Quick, kill the blue-eyed beast with golden horns. After a brief shock, the indigo-robed man reacted first and shouted loudly. Yi Mei was startled, and the harsh light in her eyes flashed. Wow! The sword light roared out instantly with astonishing power. Her strength at the moment erupted to the extreme. She did not know how long Jian Wushuang could delay the Herculean demonic monkey, so she had to battle quickly to force an outcome. Go to hell! The indigo-robed man and the purple-haired, middle-aged man also shot out at full force at the moment. As their power was unleashed, the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, who had already been pushed to the limit, immediately lost its struggle and was killed directly. When the blue-eyed beast with golden horns died, the two golden horns on its foreheads immediately became the target. Golden horns. Yimei rolled her eyes and went towards the blue-eyed beast with golden horns. Grab them quickly. The indigo-robed man suddenly burst out shouting, followed by a sound of humming and a towering axe shadow chop towards Yimei suddenly. What? Yimei was shocked and quickly wielded her sword to resist. As the axe shadow heavily hit on her long sword, Yimei backed sharply. Ha ha! When the laughter sounded and Yimei was retreating, the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man rushed to the dead body of the blue-eyed beast with golden horns immediately. Then they removed the two golden horns of the blue-eyed beast with golden horns with giant axes. After 4 blows in succession, they finally detached the two golden horns. 2 golden horns immediately fell into the hands of the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man. You too. Yimei, armed with a long sword, glared at the 2 men in front of her with fury in her eyes. All is fair in war, little girl. Thank you for killing the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, but these 2 golden horns belong to us. The indigo-robed man smiled. Bastard. Yimei was becoming more furious. There was a towering aura surrounding her, with signs that it would erupt. What? Do you want to fight? The indigo-robed man grinned, and next to him, the purple-haired middle-aged man also stared at Yimei icily. If it was 1-for-1, he knew that neither of them was an opponent of Yimei, but by teaming up, they would have no fear. Ho ho, 2 strong men attacking a little girl. Don't you feel ashamed? A light voice suddenly sounded. The facial expression of the indigo-robed man and purple-haired middle-aged man both changed, and they quickly looked towards the source of the voice. At the side, Jian Wushuang, armed with his triple kill sword, was surrounded by overwhelming sword essences. As for the mighty demonic monkey, which frightened them when they heard of it, it was lying at the feet of Jian Wushuang unmoving. A bloody hole was in its chest with streams of blood flowing out. This scene made both the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man inhale sharply. The Herculean demonic monkey is dead. Yimei was also astonished. After watching Jian Wushuang fighting with the Herculean demonic monkey and hacking it to death with one sword stroke, they had already been shocked, but now it was dead. The Herculean demonic monkey could not be dead. Since Jian Wushuang began his fight with the mighty demonic monkey, it had only been a few minutes. It was during those few minutes that the mighty demonic monkey had been killed. What was happening? Were they dreaming? The indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man were a little confused. Even Yimei, who knew Jian Wushuang's real identity, was still extremely shocked. At the same time, she finally understood why her father asked Jian Wushuang to take care of her. She had looked down on Jian Wushuang before, thinking that disciples of Dragon Palace were useless. But now she knew how foolish she was. They were shocked, but Jian Wushuang was very calm without any exultation. After all, he was a disciple of Dragon Palace. Disciples of Dragon Palace were all super talents. They were all weirdos. But he was the weirdest among them because he could defeat Nangong Jia after he had joined the Dragon Palace for only 3 months. Besides, he cultivated such a defiant cultivation tactic as the heavenly creation skill. Although the Herculean demonic monkey's power is extremely high, it only had brute force. The power I used through the heavenly creation skill is only at the level of the ordinary initial gold core realm, but my swordsmanship and sword essence are very high. Depending on the power of the formless sword wave and the swordsmanship power to fight with it directly, I had an absolute advantage. In other respects, I have a significant edge. It was an easy kill. Jian Wushuang did not take it too seriously. Catching a glimpse of the remains of the Herculean demonic monkey, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and put the remains of the mighty demonic monkey into the interspatial ring. And then Jian Wushuang looked at the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man again. During the killing of the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, Yi Mei and I contribute the most. But the two most important gold horns belong to you two, whose contributions are the least. That's not fair, is it? Jian Wushuang said with a light smile. What do you want? The indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man were staring at Jian Wushuang fearfully. They thought Jian Wushuang would be entangled with the Herculean demonic monkey for a long time and had no time to think about him. So they grabbed the two gold horns quickly. They had never dreamed that Jian Wushuang would kill the Herculean demonic monkey in only a few minutes. Take out the two golden horns, and I can ignore what happened just now. Jian Wushuang said. The indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man were displeased and looked at each other. Then the indigo-robed man nodded and said, Okay, we will take them out. Hearing this, Yi Mei breathed with a relief. However, suddenly, Run! The indigo-robed man shouted lowly, and the purple-haired middle-aged man leaped up immediately. Both of them were very clear that the condition for the completion of this mission was exactly the two gold horns. As long as they could escape and flee to the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace, even without the witness of their team leader Ba Yan, they could complete this two-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission with these two gold horns. But once they moved and acted, an icy sword light immediately whistled out. Whoosh, whoosh. The sword light whistled slightly, skimming directly onto these two men's faces. The indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man stopped their paces at once. They were shocked, feeling their faces turn cold. They subconsciously touching their faces and felt a stream of scalding blood. At the same time, Jian Wushuang appeared in front of them suddenly, and the icy voice passed slowly into their ears. The stroke just now only left a sword mark on your faces, but the next one will cut your throats. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. The Observed Prey. The purple-haired middle-aged man and the indigo-robed man swallowed their saliva. They trembled and experienced great fear after they saw a death-like smile on Jian Wushuang's lips. I will hand over the golden horn. The indigo-robed man trembled and tossed the golden horn to Jian Wushuang immediately. Me too. The purple-haired middle-aged man also handed over his golden horn. Taking the golden horn, Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. You are not foolish men. After speaking, Jian Wushuang walked toward Yi Mei with a flicker. Jian Wushuang handed over a golden horn to her and said, This is yours. Yi Mei was still confused. You deserve it because of your contribution while killing the blue-eyed beast with golden horns. Jian Wushuang said. After hesitating a while, Yi Mei ground her teeth and took the golden horn. She mumbled, Thank you. After shrugging his shoulders, Jian Wushuang said quietly, Yi Mei, for your father's sake, I remind you that you'd better not trust anyone even if he is your partner because many have incomprehensible hearts. You will meet many as you travel the world. After being slightly startled, Yi Mei looked at the indigo-robed man beside her and the purple-haired middle-aged man, and subsequently nodded. Is it already over? While a loud booming voice, the black-robed man Ba Yan walked out from the forest. Captain Ba Yan, Jian Wushuang, and others looked at the black-robed man. Seeing the corpse of the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, a satisfied smile emerged on Ba Yan's face. Ba Yen waved his hands to put the corpse into the interspatial ring. Ba Yen only knew that Jian Wushuang together with 3 people killed the blue-eyed beast with golden horns, but did not know what happened here a moment ago, nor the existence of the Herculean demonic monkey. Jian Wushuang had already put the corpse of the Herculean demonic monkey into his interspatial ring. Who got the 2 golden horns? Ba Yen asked curiously. After hearing that the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man's expression were depressed. However, Jian Wushuang smiled and said, "Ye may got 1. So did I, with good luck." Oh, the countenance of Ba Yen grew odd. He did not expect that Yi Mei obtained 1 golden horn. After all, Yi Mei was in the initial gold core realm of Jindan, and her strength was not weak. But Jian Wushuang, only in the spiritual sea realm, Jian Wushuang could obtain 1 golden horn. Ba Yen couldn't help but look at the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man. He found that they stood there with reticence and sporadically looked at Jian Wushuang with gazes filled with dense fear. These 2 men, Ba Yen, an experienced person, understood the 2 men's gazes. Based on this, Ba Yen was more curious. What happened? I feel the fear from the 2 men towards swordsman. After all, swordsman is only in the spiritual sea realm, but they are all in the primordial gold core. Although Ba Yen was curious, he did not ask. Now that the 2 golden horns have been distributed, we should move to meet Tai Shan immediately. The strength of the 3 blue-eyed beasts with golden horns was high, so we expended more effect to kill them. Now, Tai Shan and the 2 others are recovering their spiritual power. Ba Yen smiled and said, "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Several people walked toward another battlefield. In the mountain forest. "Swordsman, could you tell me what happened a moment ago? Why do I feel that the 2 men are afraid of you?" After glancing at the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man, Ba Yen asked discreetly, "Captain Ba Yen, I have said that it was due to luck." Jian Wushuang smiled and did not want to explain much. "Forget it if you don't want to say." Ba Yen smirked. "My aim is the 2 corpses of the blue-eyed beasts with golden horns. As for who could succeed in the mission, it does not matter much to me." Jian Wushuang smiled silently. He found that the attitude from Ba Yen towards him had improved. At this moment, "Come out, son of a bitch. Do you dare to battle me directly?" Ah! Hearing a salvo of hysterical and furious roars from up ahead, Jian Wushuang and other people were startled. "Something has happened." Jian Wushuang said, "The voice belongs to Tai Shan." Ba Yen frowned. "Hurry up! Hurry up!" The 5 men accelerated their speed and dashed up ahead as quickly as possible. Soon after, they arrived at a desolate, war-torn land. In the center of this land, a bearded strong man was clasping a big bronze saber. He stared around, appearing flushed, and roared furiously continuously. Around the bearded strong man, there were 2 cold corpses. Wang Cheng, Lin Yu? After seeing the 2 corpses, Jian Wushuang and the others changed their expression. The 2 corpses were their partners. They had worked together with Ba Yen and Tai Shan to kill the blue-eyed beast with golden horns ago. Subsequently, Wang Cheng, Lin Yu, and Tai Shan had stayed there to recover their spiritual power. Meanwhile, Ba Yen had been looking for Jian Wushuang and his 3 companions. However, it was beyond their expectation that the 2 people had actually died before Ba Yen could lead Jian Wushuang and his companions over. Tai Shan, what happened? Ba Yen walked toward Tai Shan. "Don't ask me. I don't know." Tai Shan still flushed with his veins bulging on his forehead. Furthermore, a trace of fear was in his eyes. "We are being observed by someone," Jian Wushuang suddenly said. "Ah." Everyone looked at Jian Wushuang. "Look at their wounds." Jian Wushuang pointed to the two corpses of Wang Chong and Lin Yu. There was only one scar on the whole corpse. The scar was located at their necks, and there was an obvious sword scar. Death with a single blow. They had no chance to retaliate. It's similar to the corpses on the road, which we passed by earlier. Jian Wushuang spoke softly. "It's him." The countenance of everyone fell after hearing what Jian Wushuang said. In fact, they didn't know who he was. However, they had seen numerous corpses by the road. Those people were killed by a single harsh blow. He might be close by. Jian Wushuang only saw tall trees and could not identify where the man was hiding. "Does he regard us as prey?" Yi Mei whispered. "Very likely." Jian Wushuang nodded. In the innumerable huge mountains, not only was it useful to hunt spirit beasts, but also hunting humans. Hunting humans was even more profitable. A man in a silver robe stood in a treetop adjacent to the barren land. Cloaked by leaves, he could see what Jian Wushuang and his companions were doing, but his targets could not see him. 2 people in the profound gold core realm, 3 people in the initial gold core realm, and a man at spiritual sea realm. All of them are the Golden Dragon Guard. This looks interesting. Let me play with you. The man in the silver robe tilted his lips and smiled coldly after observing the worried expression on Ba Yan and others. Chapter 88. Chapter 88. Human or Ghost? Inside the innumerable huge mountains, 6 figures walked ahead slowly, looking around vigilantly. "Taishan, what happened? You should tell us the details," Ba Yan said. "Wang Chong, Lin Yu, and I were recovering our spiritual power because it had been greatly consumed after battling the blue-eyed beast with golden horns." Suddenly, Wang Chong screamed miserably. When I turned to look at him, he had been killed, Taishan said with a muffled voice. After the death of Wang Chong, Lin Yu and I became vigilant immediately, but what was unexpected was that a few seconds later, Lin Yu was also killed in my presence. Even I couldn't see how the assassin did it. Hearing that, everyone's expression became very somber. "Do you know his appearance and his cultivation of spiritual power?" Ba Yan continued asking. "No." Taishan shook his head. "You are a man in the profound gold core realm. How could you not know the man's cultivation of spiritual power?" Yi Mei could not help excoriating him. "I said that I couldn't see him. His speed was amazing. When I was able to perceive him, he had already fleeted off into the mountain forest." Taishan exclaimed in a low voice. Yi Mei wanted to say something. "Okay, please stop." Ba Yan waved his hands and then looked around, saying, "We don't know whether the man is still around and targeting us or has left." He could have left. An indigo-robed man could not help saying, "The deaths of Wang Chong and Lin you could induce grief from other people. But to the indigo-robed man and the purple-haired middle-aged man, their deaths could only induce delight. That was because the golden horns were left, and the 2 of them could succeed in the mission of the 2-clawed Golden Dragon Guard now that they had died. Ha ha! Thanks to the powerhouse who killed Wang Chong and Lin Yu, I can obtain the golden horns and then succeed in the mission." The indigo-robed man laughed secretly. Suddenly, a ghost-like figure approached him, followed by a sword shadow that swept directly toward his neck. Too fast, too sudden. The people around him perceived nothing barring Jian Wushuang, who swerved his head at this moment. In the next moment, the sword shadow directly cut the indigo-robed man's neck. What? The indigo-robed man's life was dissipating as he goggled from the pain in his neck. The ghost-like figure faded into the nearby forest. Thud! The corpse of the indigo-robed man fell to the ground with a muffled sound. Huh? What? This. No one around noticed what had happened until now, and they were all startled. It's him. It's him. He didn't leave. He is still nearby. Taishan roared, filled with terror. The countenances of Ba Yan, Yi Mei, and the purple-haired middle-aged man became ghostly pale at that moment. Before, they had not thought that it was terrifying, even though they had heard Taishan's narrative about his prior experience. But now, they had witnessed it for themselves. The indigo-robed man had been with them and was killed right under their noses. Nevertheless, they could not see any trace of the adversary. They did not even know whether it was a human or a ghost who had killed the indigo-robed man. Just then, a feeling of terror emerged from the bottom of everyone's heart, except for the fearless Jian Wushuang, who wore an odd expression. Jian Wushuang had witnessed the scene, but Ba Yan and Taishan, who were in the profound gold core realm, did not see it. However, because of what he saw, he felt strange. A warrior in silver, who is in the profound gold core realm. His cultivation of spiritual power is in the profound gold core realm, and the strength that I sensed is not very strong. However, his speed is very fast, and his movements are very flexible. Moreover, he has a good method of assassination, Jian Wushuang thought secretly. Regarding the assassination method, he had first thought of the killers from the Blood Feather Tower. However, the killers from the Blood Feather Tower dressed in masks and black robes, which was different from the warrior in silver. The actual strength of that man is probably not comparable to Ba Yan. However, his cloaked assassination terrifies Ba Yan and Taishan, who are in the profound gold core realm. It's a wise method. Jian Wushuang tilted his lips slightly. Jian Wushuang was not afraid of the warrior in silver after learning something about him. But the other people were still in fear. Who are you? What kind of hatred do you have for us? Why did you pick us? Looking around unceasingly, Ba Yan spread his voice with a cold expression. Behind a nearby tree, the warrior in silver's cold smile bloomed upon hearing that. Who's next? The warrior in silver looked straight ahead. At this moment, the 8-person group of Ba Yan had only 5 people left. The 5 people were Ba Yan and Taishan, who were in the profound gold core realm, Yi Mei and the purple-haired middle-aged man, who were in the initial gold core realm, and Jian Wushuang, who was in the level of spiritual sea. The warriors who are in the profound gold core realm are a bit hard to kill. Therefore, I must kill those 2 people last. The warrior in silver looked at Ba Yan and Taishan, shaking his head, and then he looked at Jian Wushuang, that spiritual sea realm warrior. He is too weak to motivate me to kill him. Okay, the 2 remaining warriors are in the initial gold core realm. The warrior in silver stared at Yi Mei and the purple-haired middle-aged man, and then made a decision. I'll choose her. The gaze from the warrior in silver was locked on Yi Mei. A few seconds later, he silently approached her. In the center of the mountain forest, Ba Yan and the others had already become greatly frightened. Watch out. Pay attention to the surroundings, Ba Yan said in a muffled voice. The 5 living people all wore somber expressions, except for Jian Wushuang. Whoosh! A supersonic noise resounded, followed by a silver figure suddenly bursting out of the nearby forest. His movements and appearance were just like a ghost's. His speed was stupendous. In a flash, he was right in front of Yi Mei. Watch out! Ba Yan first cried out, but it was too late to rescue her. Escape! Taishan also roared. What? Immediately, Yi Mei's dark pupils shrank as her hair stood on end. An outburst of astonishing killing intent enveloped her when the ghost-like figure appeared in front of her. At that moment, Yi Mei was fraught with dense terror. She was too frightened to resist it. Ha! Another one. After seeing that, the warrior in silver grinned. His purple soft sword lightly stabbed toward Yi Mei's neck. Suddenly, swoosh, a cold sword light silently chopped toward him. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. Slaughter. What? The smile on the warrior in silver froze at once. He looked in disbelief at the sword light that had suddenly appeared. It's him. The warrior in silver also recognized who had executed that move. Was it that warrior at the level of spiritual sea, whom he had paid no attention to and regarded boring to kill? Yes, it was exactly that warrior at the level of spiritual sea. When everyone around, even including Yi Mei herself, did not realize what was happening, Jian Wushuang had clearly seen the warrior in silver's figure and cleaved toward him. This sword light, a flicker of fear appeared in the warrior in silver's eyes. The sword light was too fast, even much faster than what he could execute with his full power. It was too fast for him to defend. In the next instant, the sword had directly roared past, right in front of him. Ah! The warrior in silver immediately let out a sad and painful cry, looking at his right hand with astonishment. Actually, that sword light had directly chopped half of his palm off, as streams of blood wildly burst out. What? The several people around also witnessed what had happened. They finally were able to clearly see the warrior in silver's figure, as well as his palm chopped in half, and the purple soft sword that had dropped on the ground. At that moment, everyone stopped breathing. Run! With half of his palm chopped off, the warrior in silver's face twisted with great pain, but he still remained a little sober. Instead of picking up the chopped-off half-palm and that purple soft sword, he rushed out and escaped. He clearly knew that what he was most versed in were assassination and high speed. As for face-to-face slaughter, either Ba Yan or Tai Shan, who were both in the profound gold core realm, could beat him single-handedly. Hence, once his figure was seen, he had to leave immediately. What was worse was that his right hand was crippled now, and his battle strength was largely reduced. As long as all of you have come, then stay here. A floating voice was passed into the warrior in silver's ears when his complexion sharply changed. Shua! The icy sword edge directly penetrated through the warrior in silver's chest from the back, with its edge passing right through the entire heart. The third movement of formless swordsmanship, expeditious maneuver. The warrior in silver just felt a little sweetness in his throat. In the next instant, a gush of blood spurted from his mouth before his body slowly slumped down to the ground. Even when he died, he could not believe that he would die at the hand of a warrior at the level of spiritual sea. After killing the warrior in silver, Jian Wushuang put the triple kill sword back into its sheath. Then he bent over to pick up the warrior in silver's ring of heaven and earth and that purple soft sword from the ground before turning around to look at Ba Yan and the others. As soon as he turned around, Jian Wushuang found that all of Ba Yan, Tai Shan, Yi Mei, and that purple-haired middle-aged man were staring at him with shocked faces. Swordsman, you killed him? Ba Yan said in astonishment. Should I not try to kill him and wait for him to kill you one by one? Jian Wushuang asked in return. Both Ba Yan and Tai Shan looked at Jian Wushuang in a different way. Like Tai Shan, he did not regard Jian Wushuang as somebody at all before this. In his view, a warrior at the level of spiritual sea trying to complete the task of the two-clawed golden dragon guard meant that he was pursuing death. He had even quarreled with Jian Wushuang. But now, Tai Shan absolutely could not look down upon Jian Wushuang. Instead, he felt deep fear toward him from the bottom of his heart. Yes, it was fear. After all, that warrior in silver had killed 3 of his companions in front of him, but he did not even see the shadow of their opponent. However, Jian Wushuang did directly slaughter that warrior in silver. Having witnessed such strength, how could he stand there with no fear? As for Yi Mei and that purple-haired middle-aged man, they had seen before that Jian Wushuang killed the Herculean demonic monkey in the profound gold core realm in just a moment, so they had known that Jian Wushuang's strength was very horrifying. Yet, when they saw Jian Wushuang so easily slaughter that warrior in silver, they still felt extremely shocked. "Swordsman, thank you." Yi Mei earnestly stared at Jian Wushuang and expressed her gratitude. Just now, that warrior in silver had aimed to kill her, which she knew very clearly. If Jian Wushuang had not saved her in time, she would be dead now. "You're welcome. Anyway, we are companions. Of course I can't watch you be killed," Jian Wushuang casually answered. Yi Mei nodded slightly. Although Jian Wushuang seemed to be very casual, she had remembered his kind help. "All right. The guy who was in our way has been killed. Captain Ba Yan, let's continue ahead," said Jian Wushuang. "Huh." Ba Yan was stunned before grasping his words. Then he nodded in a hurry, saying, all right, let's go." At night, on a hill, Ba Yan and the other several people were gathering in front of a fire. How could it be? That man was only in the profound gold core realm, with not very powerful strength. He was just relatively good at assassination. If I fought against him face to face, maybe I could have beaten him. Tai Shan's voice was very solid. "Humph, what a shame. Anyway, you are an expert in the profound gold core realm, but couldn't see his cultivation of spiritual power." Ba Yan sneered. "That's all due to that guy's high speed." Tai Shan curled his lip and then said, "Yet Brother Swordsman is really awesome. He's only in the spiritual sea realm, but he so easily killed a warrior in the primordial gold core." After knowing Jian Wushuang's real strength, Tai Shan was not proud at all in front of Jian Wushuang. "Really awesome." Ba Yan also praised him. Such an excellent spiritual sea realm warrior can't be an ordinary person. In my opinion, he must possess a great background. He is even maybe a disciple of the Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace? Both Tai Shan and the purple-haired middle-aged man opened their eyes wide. "That swordsman is really a disciple of Dragon Palace," said Yi Mei just then. "Really?" Ba Yan, Tai Shan, and the purple-haired middle-aged man showed expressions of great interest. At their side, Jian Wushuang was casually sitting on a giant rock, playing with the purple soft sword in his hand. That purple soft sword was obtained after killing that warrior in silver. What was noticeable was that there were 2 red characters engraved on its sword hilt. 11, Jian Wushuang murmured. Then he turned his hand over, and a small scroll appeared. That was naturally the task scroll of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace's task of Stage 1 had been mostly finished, so he began studying the task of Stage 2. Opening the scroll. Task of Stage 2, kill the Dark Silver Guard. Task location, innumerable huge mountains. Task description. In the palace of the Dongyang Commandery Prince of the Tianzong Dynasty, there is a well-cultivated guarding army called the Dark Silver Guard. There are more than 100 Dark Silver Guards, who often secretly help the palace of Dongyang Commandery Prince to kill enemies and complete some confidential tasks. The cultivation process of the Dark Silver Guard is extremely cruel and complicated.